creates like so much symbolic significance to the concept of Luffy fighting Emu. There's just so much weight attached to that at the end of the day. What they both would represent in terms of one being the sun god, one being the sea devil. So yeah, I hope you guys are... I really hope that Emu does turn out to be the sea devil, because I think that's just a really exciting possibility. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And with that, I am starting stream right now, perfectly on time. And yeah, with that, I will talk to you all later. All right, everybody. How is it going? How's it going? How we all doing? How we all doing? Streak broken? Nope. Started exactly on time. Nope. No points. No points. No points. Here, I can show you. Oh, shit. Hold on. 1 second. What the fuck? And we have been live for over a minute, as you can see. Over a minute. So we're good. We're good. It was tight, but we're good. I think I'm probably hit it by just about the exact second mark. We can even keep it up. We can even keep it. We can keep this up so you guys can see the exact time change. But we're good. You'll also be able to see, I think, when the stream is published, exactly the time that it started. No points. No points. Buzzer beater. Buzzer beater. All right. Behenort, thanks a lot for being a Pirate King team member for 20 months. Hi, Morge. Between picking up Clear Obscure and Delta Rune coming out tomorrow, it's going to be a great summer for gaming. I hope the upcoming One Piece chapters won't take away all my attention. I need to game, LMAO. You know what's good? I've kind of been able to pick up some more free time, I think, lately. I think my schedule has shifted to be able to pick up some more free time. Yeah, see, 2 minutes. I've been streaming for over 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 3 seconds, and it is still 8:02 p.m. EST, so we are in the clear. We're in the clear. It's tight. Okay. Oh, shit. Did my camera fucking freeze? God damn it. God damn it. That's what I fucking get for trying to prove a point. Now I got to do this shit again. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I don't know why it comes out as a square, though. That's my biggest question. I'll never be able to figure that out, I don't think. Let me just line things up perfectly. Not perfectly, but, you know, nothing can be perfect, but as close as it's supposed to get. I guess like this. I guess this is probably good. This is pretty good. All right. So my arm's just sticking out. What was I thinking? Yeah, in terms of gaming, I have more free time nowadays, a little bit more free time. So I want to pick up some. I want to get back into gaming a little bit. I want to get back into gaming. I want to play. So the problem is that it's just like there's multiplayer games and then there's like single player game. I feel like okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I think if you got a ton of time on your hands, then you probably play a lot of multiplayer games. And then I think if you've got less and less time, you probably play more single-player games. I might be wrong on that. But I think that, yeah, I feel like multiplayer is if you've got more time. Single-player is like you've got your own amount of time, right? Like you've got a set amount of time. And then no games is if you've got the least amount of time. I think I've transitioned into the territory where I've got enough time that I feel like I can play single-player games. I think that's where it is. Torchlight says, I think the opposite, actually. You think the opposite? Not single player for me either way. I guess it's because, like, with multiplayer games, at least competitive multiplayer games, to feel good playing it, I feel like you need to have the time to keep up with all the fucking sweaty, like, teenagers and stuff like that, or, like, college kids who've got infinite time on their hands to just be playing it. You know what I mean? At least the way I remember it is, like, when I came out of... I've never played too many multiplayer games, but, like, when I came out of college, like, I played Overwatch somewhat, right? And I played Overwatch because it was tricky, because this was during the stint before I really started, like, grinding effort-wise in terms of work and everything like that. But I had a stint where I had time on my hands, so I could fucking play Overwatch for several hours a day, right? And that was good. And I could hop on calls and stuff to play Overwatch with other people that I knew. And that lasted probably about, I don't know, a few weeks or a month or something like that. And yeah, that was just when I had the most time. I also feel like, but you're competing with people who are also playing Overwatch a shit ton then, right? So like it becomes a thing where like you're not having fun if you're getting your ass kicked, and you're getting ass kicked by somebody that's playing 8 hours a day or something like that, right? I remember when I started playing Melee online on Slippy, and that was a period of time where that was like COVID probably, and that was a period of time that it actually nearly fucked me over because I got like a little bit addicted playing it, and that was a time that I was also trying to grind the YouTube channel and get the YouTube channel off the ground, and I was working as a part-time court clerk, and I was doing like a lot of things like that. So it was a period of time where I shouldn't have been, and like Melee actually got in the way. So I actually had to cut it out. But that was a thing where like I could be playing and playing for hours, and I kind of realized that it's, like when I was beating up on somebody, I was like, well, I'm beating up on this person, but I can also tell that this person probably has played the game less than me just based on their technical skill, their reactions, stuff like that. And then other times I'd run into somebody that like can play like 600, 700 inputs a minute or something like that. And I'd be like, well, this person just fucking plays the game a lot, right? Like with multiplayer games, obviously your own talent and ability to pick things up is a big part of it. But probably the biggest factor is how much time you have to put into the game. And like, I think you're just not going to have as much fun when you're running into people that, like, I guess at the end of a long day where you've done a lot of work or whatever, I think one of the last things that people want to do is log online and play against like some sweaty tryhard who has spent the entire day that you were working, they've spent fucking playing this game, and now you're logging on to get your ass handed to them, handed by them, right? Ass handed to you by them, basically, right? I feel like with single player games, you finish a long day, you can hop on, and like with a single player game, no matter what, at the end of the day, as long as you try enough, you're gonna win. Even if it's a hard game like a Souls game, like Dark Souls, Sekiro, Elden Ring, or whatever. At the end of the day, you are hopping on, you're gonna come away with some sense of satisfaction once you overcome the challenge, right? Even if it can be a big, like a big trial or a big task or obstacle trying to get through a particularly difficult boss, you can generally, as long as you keep your mind to it, you can end the night feeling good about yourself, right? Just feeling that rush of dopamine or whatever. Whereas with multiplayer games, those are the games that like you might feel like I'm just tilted or angry or something like that, right? I think generally speaking, I genuinely do not get angry, or everyone gets tilted. That's always going to be a thing. But I do not ever get angry playing a single player game. With multiplayer games, there are points that like despite what you guys might believe about me generally as a person, I'm not somebody that gets too angry. Like I'm not a controller thrower or like thing hitter or anything like that. I'm pretty good at just letting things go in multiplayer games. But like even I over time will get like somewhat frustrated if you have a particularly frustrating session with somebody in a multiplayer game who's BMing you, taunting you a lot, stuff like that, right? That stuff doesn't happen in a single player game. So, I don't know. Let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Sticks X11, thanks for the 5. When can we expect a video about what Oda's got cooking for the Thriller Bark parts? Moria, Iroh prison trading, hashtag back to Prime. It would be cool to see Moria back to Prime. Funnily enough, I do have a video that will include Moria coming soon. There is a video that includes Moria coming soon. And it's an interesting video. Dandelion says, who do I main? Who do I main? In like, in what? In Overwatch or Melee? You going to watch any of the NBA Finals games? No. Literally no. Fuck the NBA. In Overwatch, I was like a one-trick. I just played Tracer. if I was forced in a situation, this was back when it was like 6 stack and there was no, everyone could pick whatever character they wanted or whatever. This was like golden days of Overwatch, I think. Or maybe it was starting to shift from golden days, I don't know. I was a Tracer one trick. And I've never been good at shooters because shooters, I think it's one thing like you got to grow up playing shooters a little bit to have that muscle memory and kind of pick up the muscle memory for it. I never fucking did that with shooters. So for me, with shooters, I thought I wouldn't like Overwatch, but then I zipped around with Tracer a little bit, and I was like, oh, I like the movement. Like, this character is really cool, and it feels good to play as. And so then I actually did get better at shooting over time just with Tracer. So that was cool. I think that was like the first time I really, really enjoyed playing a shooter type thing or whatever. Even though it's an ability-based game. It's not like fucking Valorant or not Call of Duty or fucking Counter-Strike or something like that, right? But it was still fun. Like, and it was the first time I really enjoyed multiplayer playing a sort of shooter type character, right? So that's one. If I was forced to do something that wasn't Tracer, because like it's like the team clearly needs something that's not DPS, I would do Lucio, because Lucio is like the closest thing. So as a Tracer, one trick with like a Lucio if I had to, and I still kind of enjoyed playing Lucio. But like, you know what's funny? Anytime I was forced to sort of play Lucio, I'd be like, I don't even give a shit if we lose now, because like I'm not playing Tracer. So like I was probably the worst type of person to be teammates with. I was just like, I have no sort of like mental stake in this game. It becomes like a throw. I'm still gonna try and win, obviously, but it's just like I could be playing as Lucio and I'd be like, this isn't even my. This is just like a side thing that I'm doing. Like this isn't even my like main form, like my final form or something like that. As a Tracer one trick, I do not apologize for being a Tracer one trick because I blame the game for not properly incentivizing everybody to pick out the roles and like try and be more robust with your character selection or whatever. If Tracer wasn't in the game, I wouldn't fucking play Overwatch. I really just like the game for Tracer. So I'm not gonna force myself to play a game when I'm not having fun playing that game. So like that was my logic. It's like oh shit, my dog's throwing up. Okay, hold on. In Melee, I play Fox. 1 second. We'll be right back. Oh, Harley, what happened? Oh no. What happened? I'm sorry. Oh, you okay? Take a look. Maybe we can put it in this crate. He just threw up. I'll clean it up after you or whatever. It was on the blanket, so and it's pretty solid. It's not the worst thing. He finished his food when he threw up, so it's like it's easy to do. Maybe we put it in the crate, or should I just? No, it's okay. It's just I don't want him to eat the. No, I'll keep him in here. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, it's okay, Harley. It's okay. Good boy. It's okay. All right. Sorry about that. Dandelion says he mains Fox, but he's a Marth player at heart. So funnily enough, I started as a Marth main in Melee. But that was back when I played really casual. So like before I got good at the game. Harley, don't eat that. No. So when I was casual and early on, Marth was like the easy comfort character for me in Melee. And then as I started trying to get better and like actually learn, L canceling, wave dashing and stuff like that, and like a little bit of tech, I shifted over to Fox, and something about like Fox just resonated with me a little bit more. And this is actually an interesting thing I've noticed about myself. I have to play more fighting games to confirm if this is actually true. But it's an interesting I noticed about myself, which is that like it also translated to the couple other fighting games I've played, which is like Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct. So Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Injustice, stuff like that. So when I first pick up a fighting game, I usually tend to gravitate towards and do best with characters that have a sort of a range, like not projectiles. I never like projectile characters really. I like characters that have range, like if they have a sword or something like that, a sword or staff or whatever, something that like I feel like I can learn neutral well with that. Like if I have a bit more range than the opponent, I can learn how to poke and get hits and all of that. Like I just prefer fighting with range, and that feels like early on that feels easy. And I feel like with ranged moves, I can learn some simple stuff very quickly and kind of learn the game like that. And then there comes a point that's like a transition point where maybe I'm playing around with another character on the side or something. Then I start to shift over to playing like a character that's more fast, a bit more high APM, and a bit more like I can be a bit more aggressive and mix-up-y. So I've just noticed that for pretty much every fighting game that I've dabbled with, especially in Melee, which just like range is what I like at the ground floor level when I'm kind of like learning the game. Like I feel very comfortable with that. And then at a certain point, like when I feel comfortable with the game, then like naturally I start to feel limited by that character, and I start to feel like I can do more what I actually want and like play more mix-ups, play a bit more fun neutral with like a more fast-paced sort of aggressive high APM character that has a bit more options. Yeah, I noticed that like in Mortal Kombat, whatever the one that I really played a lot with my friend, like I initially started off like playing Devora a lot, and then I got into Kung Lao at some point. So that's just like another little example. It was similar for like Injustice and Killer Instinct. It's just I don't know. It's just what it is. So I've like right off the bat, I would not have been able to play Fox in Melee, but like and I never thought I'd be a Fox main because I thought it's like boring and generic, but I started off as Marth, and then at a certain point I just found that I was having more fun anytime I like played around with Fox, and then it just became more natural for me to do that. So yeah, the game I've been thinking about playing lately is like Street Fighter, and so I imagine if I pick up Street Fighter, I will probably like a character that's got kind of a bit more long range footsies, like and then I imagine I'll switch to a character that is a bit faster and more a bit faster and more a bit more aggressive, I think, after a little bit. I don't know. That's just my thought. Tornadoes is spacing God Morge. That is one of the things there's some things that I'm good with in fighting games. So I've always been good at spacing. I've just naturally been good at that. Or maybe not naturally. Maybe it's just because I played a lot of Smash growing up, right? But I've always had good spacing in any fighting game I played. I think usually the things that I'm not as good at are like it takes me longer than the average person, I've noticed, to figure out how to do more technical things or execution based things. So it will take me longer to consistently hit a combo, I think, than the average person is what I realize. So you get the good with the bad or whatever. Okay, anyway. Tornado says, is hair going or not? I think the hair's going. Behenort, thanks a lot. Anyway, Emu Sea Devil stocks rise up. Nice. Just watch out for tomorrow's video. Oh, maybe it's because I said it at the start of this stream. So maybe you guys probably heard it at the start of the stream. Watch out for tomorrow's video. It's much more in depth. Let's get stream likes up to 50. You guys got a bit of a preview. Aziz, thanks a lot. When do you think Gaban meets Sanji? I feel like after this whole battle resolves, I think that's when that's going to happen. And I think Gaban will have to teach the Strats in general some stuff, Hold on, let me just do this. Yeah, I think in general that'll be when it happens. I think it'll be important for both Zoro and Sanji potentially to meet Gaban, just because I think Zoro's going to need Future Sight at some point in story. I think he's just going to need Future Sight at some point. TomTom says, I bet Morge is awful at video game shit talking. I'm not a shit talker. I generally don't like shit talking. I genuinely will feel bad when I don't like shit talk. I've never been a shit talker. Um, I think like to some degree, if you're fucking somebody up in a game, then you can kind of low-key shit talk in the game itself, if that makes sense. Like you can shit talk, especially when it's like online, because like you can do things that are kind of trolling them at a certain point. But I don't like doing that. If somebody else is, you know what? If somebody else is pissing me off in a game though, then I will go to like taunting and stuff like that. But that you have to push me very, very hard to do that. It's if somebody else is like pissing me off and taunting me a lot or something like that, then eventually if I get like if my turn comes when I'm like beating their ass or something, then you will see me respond. But generally I don't like shit talking. I usually just feel like, especially if it's in person or something like that, because I did go to some Melee tournaments. In person, if I beat somebody and I can feel how hard both of us are trying, regardless of what type of person it is, I will usually just feel bad afterwards. I don't want to shit talk. It's just not, that's not my thing. Yeah. But to be fair, I think in person I've never experienced shit talking either while playing Melee. Maybe it's different at other things like what do you call? Maybe it's different at like I don't know, like a Street Fighter tournament or something like that. Maybe there's more, or maybe it's just because I was at a Melee local, so that maybe that's what it was. Morge isn't built for the golden age of Melee. I bet there was a lot of shit talking back then. Telungu96, thanks for the 5. Imagine if Gaban comments on the Straw Hats not all having hockey, so he teaches a couple of them really quick, showing that he's a better teacher than Rayleigh. I don't know if it'll mean that he's a better teacher than Rayleigh, because, like, Rayleigh taught Luffy pretty good over those years. You know, so, like, I don't think Rayleigh had a failing in terms... Well, maybe... I mean, if Gaban can teach all the Straw Hats hockey really fast, that'd be kind of crazy. If permanent hockey infusion is a thing, then Luffy could also give some of the Straw Hats, like, some hockey, like, give Usopp some hockey tools. But I would rather they learn it themselves. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, maybe if Gaban's able to teach everybody what really took, like, 3 years or 2 years or a year and a half to teach Luffy, then that would be kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I do think that there's going to be some training that happens over the course of Elbaf for a lot of characters. TomTom says, Morge, it's a legit strategy to rage bait the enemies in a text chat mid-match to make them play worse. Yeah, it is a strategy. Like, because it can put people on tilt and can force people to play a certain way. I usually, how to explain this? I usually genuinely, at least in Melee, if I play somebody, this is the genuine truth. In Melee, when I'm playing somebody online, from what I remember, and if they would be very trolly or rude or like spam certain emotes or whatever a lot, or taunt a lot, or do stuff like that, it was usually like a progression for me, where like the first thing that's gonna happen is for a while I will legitimately, like, I kind of imagine what they're like, and I legitimately feel bad, not bad, but I legitimately am like, oh, this is probably a really sad, like, just nerdy outcast type person who's just holed up in his room that has like a lot of negativity in his life that he needs to let out by like doing this in video games. Because like I know that for myself, if I'm beating up somebody in Melee or something, I don't feel the urge to drive a needle in and make them feel bad about it. Like, I don't feel the urge to be a dick when I'm playing. Like, I don't feel the urge to like be taunting them and stuff, because in my mind, like, I'm having fun. Even if I'm kicking the other person's ass, it's nothing personal. It's just like, it might be fun to try and style on them like a little bit or something, but that's nothing personal. It's just like, this is the challenge and it's fun to do, right? But I don't want to like make them want to drop the game or something like that, right? So I try and imagine, like, I never feel like the game is like an outlet for negative emotions, but I feel like people who really want to taunt, like, this is what I imagine first. I feel like if somebody's really taunting or BMing and stuff like that, I start to imagine like the game is probably an outlet for negative emotions for them. That's the first thing that I kind of assume. And then I assume sad things about them, basically, especially if they're spamming like tech skill at like 600, 700 APM or something like that. Then I'm just like, oh, this person probably just like really just like this is all they have or something. The flip side, the more annoying one is when it's somebody that like you're playing the game and you feel like you're generally better at and you're probably winning more interactions, but Melee is a fairly volatile game, so it's like if a couple things go a certain way, then like in a single game, maybe you end up losing that game because like you got shine spiked or gimped at a certain point like early on or something, and so you feel like, oh, I probably should have won that game, or like if we run it back I probably will beat this guy the next couple rounds, and then they like quit out right away and then they spam lol GGs and stuff like that. Those people piss me off a bit more because I'm just like, you know what happened, like you're not going to get better if you do it like that, and I make assumptions about their character as well, or like their person as well, because I'm just like, this is somebody that doesn't actually want like challenges or like adversity or whatever. Like they just want to feel like like inflate their egos as much as possible. Like even if they know it's like a sort of grimy, like unearned sort of way or whatever. So I have negative assumptions about that as well. So I think I just make negative assumptions about people that act a certain way in terms of how they interact online in those games. So that's usually what happens first. So I don't get pissed. I'm just like maybe I'll be a little bit annoyed, but I also am just like, oh, well, you're just a sad person. However, if something goes on for long enough, right, and maybe I'm in like an exceptionally bad mood that day myself, then that will transition to just me actually getting tilted and me actually getting mad. Not like mad, like throw controllers mad or whatever, but just like frustrated, not having fun. I want to turn the game off at some point, basically. So it's like a range. Like first, I might not be bothered for a bit. Then after a bit, I'm like, I'm probably playing against like a fucking loser or something. This is probably all they have. It is what it is. Then at a certain point, if I'm in like just the right mood and things have progressed far enough, and like maybe if I've gotten my ass beat for like 20 games and this person's been taunting and BMing and spamming emotes like the entire time or something, then at a certain point, I'm going to be internally kind of mad, and then I'm just going to be salty, basically. So, you know. Anyway. Oh, wait, okay, we should talk about Chopper. Let's get to Chopper. Let's get to Chopper. I've seen the image. I know what Chopper looks like. Unplug your controller, dog. Yeah. That was wild that at like fucking Genesis 2 like losers finals, somebody actually just like quit game 3, like the third game, just because they were getting beat that bad. That would never happen today. It's like, even if you're getting beat really bad, like you still have pride and there's money on the line and shit like that. But anyway, continuing on. Yeah, let's watch the Chopper thing. I want to watch the Chopper thing, because this was the big question mark for what they were gonna do. You know, like how are they gonna do it, right? That was the big question mark. I feel like from the image I saw, I can't make too many conclusions. The world of One Piece that they've created is already a pretty, like the live action world is a pretty cartoony, like wacky, vibrant sort of world. So maybe Chopper won't look too out of place. I do just wonder, this is something funny. Somebody said this. I was briefly at DreamCon. Like there was a DreamCon meetup, if you guys know, where a lot of like some One Piece YouTubers, like people basically went to, like Brago, Jay, Laz, just trying to name YouTubers you guys might know. Dritz, if you guys, he's semi-retired or whatever, or he's retired basically, but and then a lot of associated people as well, basically people who are friends with that community basically online. So a lot of people went to meet up in DreamCon, and I went briefly for a few. I was able to swing by for a few hours as well. Okay, during that time we were talking about Chopper as well. I still have not seen it, but they had seen what he looks like, and the biggest thing that they talked about, that I thought was really, really fucking funny, was because I was like, based on the image that I saw, I was like, maybe they can make it work. Like maybe it's fine. Maybe they can make this work. I need to see it in action. The thing that really fucking threw me is like somebody brought up, how are they gonna do the transformations? And that fucking blew my mind. I was like, oh yeah, the problem with Chopper is not that you have to animate, you know, this talking human reindeer CGI thing. The problem is that you need to make him fluidly transform between 7 different transformations. Like, how are they even going to begin to do this? I don't even know what the budget looks like. I was, because in my head, I was like, when I saw the image, I was like, maybe if they just don't have him, if they off-screen him quite a bit. I feel like Chopper is going to have to be a fairly minor fucking character in the live-action show. Like, literally close to a pet. Because I don't think they're going to be able to bring him on camera that often. You know, like, I think it's, like, even the fucking, like, even, like, Hulk in the Marvel movies, like, you could only show him that. No, I mean, like, I don't know. It's complicated. Hulk, they had the budget, obviously. But One Piece episodes are not the same thing. But, yeah, the big thing is just, like, the transformations, you know? Like, I already assume that they won't be able to show Chopper that much because he takes up, like, a good amount of budget each time. So I'm like, maybe he'll just be the least shown of the Straw Hats. But now it's like, well, it's not even just going to be the least shown. How are they going to have him fight? Like, what is that going to look like? How are they going to have him, like, turn into, you know, even if it's not 7. Let's say it's not 7 transformations. Maybe it's just 1 transformation that's his fighting transformation. I think the 7 transformations was a cool, important aspect of Chopper's fighting style that is now gone because he just fucking uses Kung Fu Point or Monster Point. That is actually really fucking sad. He pulled that guard point against Big Mom that one time. That was what, man, now I got myself reflecting because it was a big point that Chopper could transform into 7 different transformations. That was really, really cool. Literally, like, that's not even me speaking. That's what Luffy himself said. Remember, like, when Luffy didn't invite Chopper because he was a doctor, they were like, why'd you invite Chopper? He was like, he's a cool reindeer, and he has 7 talking reindeer, 7 transformations. Remember Appa in The Last Airbender? I never watched The Last Airbender live action. I've seen enough clips that I get the gist of it. He was barely shown. Yeah. If we saw Laud live action, board's going to get so bad. Chopper's going to be handled like Usopp in Season 1, a.k.a. sidelined out of the story. I feel like Season 2, Usopp was definitely done the most dirty out of the Straw Hats in Season 1. Usopp was definitely done the most dirty out of the Straw Hats in Season 1. I think it's kind of fine because I feel like in Season 2, as long as they go along with the story, Season 2 for Usopp should be good for Usopp because you got the Little Garden arc, which is really an Usopp arc. Usopp's the main character of the Little Garden arc. And then Season 3, you got Alabasta, which is going to be phenomenal for Usopp, right? I still think the Mr. 4 fight is, dramatically speaking, Usopp's best fight. Perona's the most engaging Usopp fight in terms of, like... No, I think the Mr. 4 fight is still Usopp's best fight. I think it's just the most dramatic of Usopp's fights. Tom Thompson is saying most of his transformations can just be quick attacks / scenes that don't last more than 3 seconds at most. Yeah, but I'm saying, like, the process of transforming is the tricky part, you know, because, like, that's where I feel like they need more animation, right? Like, showing him morph. I feel like morphing is the tricky thing. They've got money now, though, right? Because the Season 1 was such a hit. Having him actually kiss Kaya was a W for him, though. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was also an example of, like, Americanizing the show. Or, like, not Americanizing, Westernizing the show, like, for broader audiences. Because it is just a thing where it's like a Netflix thing, but also a Hollywood thing in general. For popular movies and stuff, like, studios are going to want certain things out of it. There needs to be some romance in there. There just does. It's like an assumption that studios have because studios are trying to hit 4 quadrants, like men, women, adults, and like older adults and younger people, basically. Like, that's what studios are trying to hit. And there are certain assumptions that it's like, if it's a story that's very action and fantasy based or whatever, you need to have some level of romance because that'll help women be more invested or something. Those are actual assumptions that studios have. Usopp Kaya was the one romance that was actually in the thing. I feel like I would bet that it's absolutely fucking killing Netflix that this is a story, because like thanks to fucking Oda being in charge of this shit, I guarantee that it is killing Netflix studios that they cannot have a romance among one of the Straw Hat Pirates. Like, imagine, like, can you think of any other comparable sort of Netflix show series that would have a cast of like 5 young adults all on an adventure, living together on a ship? A lot of them are attractive people, and they're all just friends. That's not a thing, right? Fucking Stranger Things. You got, like, it's just the way Hollywood works, and especially Netflix works. Like, Stranger Things, let's pair up these. Like, everybody has to have a romance at the end of the day, right? Wednesday, right? Everybody's got to have a romance at the end of the day. Like, all of these types of shows, you just need some romances forced in. And a lot of times with Hollywood, it's actually kind of funny because, like, imagine, like, movie series, right? Like, how many times have we seen a movie series where, like, in the first movie, the main character falls in love with, like, a love interest, right? And then in the sequel, the main character is still with that love interest, and now, like, the side characters, they're going to get love interest. So now that's, like, a new thing, right? And then by the third movie, like, oh, the whole, like, everybody's got, like, a girl or a guy or something like that. Like, it's just the way movie studios tend to roll. I think it's just, I do think it's a crutch, because it's kind of like, what's the easiest way to write in some drama or character stuff or whatever? It's like, well, what if these two want to fuck, right? Like, that's just it. So I'm really happy that that's not something that's being shifted by Oda, but, like, there's some concessions that have to be made somewhere. So it's like, well, Usopp and Kai are clearly interested in each other in the manga, so in the live action, let's actually make that a thing, right? And it's not just that they kissed. In the live action, there was, like, full-on scenes where it was, like, Zoro, Luffy, I forget, like, and Usopp were talking and, like, trying to understand, like, so how do you feel about Kaya? And Usopp's like, oh, you think she likes me and stuff like that? That's very Hollywood shit, with just, like, we need to have this character be going through some sort of emotional pains or some shit. It's just about love. It is just the way it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Vivi Koza romance is a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Vivi and Koza is, like, a big part of that. Andrew Knowles says people eat that shit up, though. Ship culture is real. Yeah, that is just the unfortunate truth of it. It's like, studios are... It's weird because, like, studios aren't wrong. They are right a lot of times. Like, they know... It's complicated because, like, they know what's the safest thing that's guaranteed to likely... Like, they think about floors. Like, what's the thing that's going to sort of give us the most rock-solid guarantee over and over, right? A recurring sort of floor that can prevent them from being more outside of the box and doing things that are more creative. But in the long run, like, these are businesses that are tried and true over a long period of time. In the long run, it is saving them from more flops than not, right? Because you do often hear so many stories about how, like, how great this movie was going to be, but then the studios ruined it. Or, like, how this director or whatever writer had, like, such a good vision for the story, and studios tried to make these changes, but the director and writer stuck to their guns, and the changes weren't made, and so the movie was really good, or the show was really good, and, like, we all applaud those sort of things. What we don't hear about are, like, how many times, like, there's, like, all these flops or something like that the studios, like, desperately tried to get a director or writer to change some shit, and they didn't. You know, like... We don't hear about, like, the times that the executives were right, that, like, this could be bad or this could be whatever, right? So, because it's more romantic to hear the stories of, like, artistic creativity winning out over corporate greed. And, like, at the end of the day, artistic creativity is more important. But, like, you're also being given, like, some $100 million to play around with by these other people. So, like, it's just a complicated sort of dynamic. And, like, artists get shit wrong a lot of the time. A lot of the time, they have, like, big swings and misses. Like, artists very often don't even know what they're doing that's so good in a given movie or TV show, and then fail to replicate it again and again, right? So, like, bursts of creativity are not, like, the most reliable thing, which is why studios are then forced to rely on, okay, well, we need at least some metrics that are, like, proven in, like, focus groups and stuff like that to be consistently whatever, even if studios don't fully understand the artistic process. It's a complicated thing. It's not as black and white as people sometimes make it seem. All right. Yeah, let's get into this shit. I think it's very important for the story that the Strats are just friends. I think it opens up too many dynamics if the Strats did actively have romances. I think, because to do a romance well, you do need to spend some time with it. Like, simple example, compare Zoro, Hiyori, and Wano as like sort of a setup Oda romance to Sanji Pudding in Whole Cake. You know, Sanji Pudding, like Pudding and Sanji's dynamic over the course of that story was one that was very focused on and very developed, and like, whether you think it was a great romance or not, you can't say that like Oda didn't put like at least a thought out story in there. Whereas Zoro Hiyori, it's just like, let's throw in the princess loves Zoro because he's just Zoro. He's just so cool and badass or whatever. And then there's no fucking story in there. There's no chemistry. There's nothing. There's no narrative that really happens. She gives him a sword. That's basically the end of their dynamic, right? Even Luffy Hancock, whether or not that's like a real ship or not, you see their dynamic progress over the course of Amazon Lily, and it works because Amazon Lily really is like, they're the two fucking main characters of Amazon Lily, and Luffy's conflict with Boa Hancock and the way that plays out is the centerpiece of Amazon Lily, right? So romances are like, to do those well, you do need to actually put effort into them. With the way One Piece works, most islands that we're going to, pre-time skip or post-time skip, the emphasis is not even on the Strats themselves, right? The emphasis in like Skypiea, it's on all of the story of the natives, right? The emphasis when they get to Alabasta, it's like the story of the country that's going through civil war or whatever, right? It is very difficult to also, amidst all that, like, because One Piece is so side character and island to island character centric, right? It's kind of like a lot of the good stuff writing that we get for the Strats are like when the story stops to actually focus on them in fights or whatever, basically, to then also write developing dynamics that are like romances. That's very difficult. It's also why I personally believe that the one time that it felt like, and you can disagree or whatever, it felt like there was potentially a blossoming romance among two or a potential for a romance between two Straw Hats over the course of a storyline, was between Frankie and Nico Robin over the course of Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Why? Because the story already focused entirely around Robin and Frankie in Water 7 and Enies Lobby. It was their storyline, and Oda made the great decision of pairing those two characters together for an extended period of time over the course of the Sea Train, all the way through Enies Lobby, all the way down to Frankie being the one that saves Robin, frees Robin, etc., and then Robin in turn being the one that forces Frankie to join the crew with the clutch and everything, like the balls and everything like that. It was a very popular opinion at that point in time, way earlier on, that Robin and Frankie, they had a certain special bond or certain sort of like more emotionally intimate relationship coming out of that than like other Strats did. And it was just over time that the idea for Robin Frankie romance kind of died out because Oda didn't really seem to pursue that. But coming out of Water 7 and Enies Lobby, that was a common thing. And that's why you see in the very next arc, Thriller Bark, Frankie and Robin are their own sort of duo doing their own thing for the first half of that arc. And it feels very natural because they're written to be so in sync and sort of having shared this trauma and like growth with each other over the course of Water 7 and Enies Lobby, right? So romance almost feels like it could naturally blossom for these two characters from there, right? That is hard to do every arc for like any other Strats, right? Like you would need to do so much groundwork to do that, right? Like Frankie Robin is probably the one romance that Oda could have capitalized on coming out of Water 7 and Enies Lobby if he wanted to, and it would have felt perfectly natural. Like you could read Thriller Bark and read Frankie and Robin's storyline in Thriller Bark and be like, yeah, this could turn into a thing or something like that. Oda could have gone that direction. He chose not to. Anyway. Kunal Dashawal says, bro was rooting for Vivi and Kozu. It made sense. I think Kozu and Vivi does make sense to some degree. It's also interesting. Like, it definitely does. Like, they have that past, that childhood dynamic and everything like that. They have some very, very dramatic, emotional scenes. Like, Kozu and Vivi, it feels kind of right. Also, Rebel and the Princess. Vivi also, like, Oda even teases a romance for Vivi when he's like, as they're heading to the Reverie, Cobra's like, Vivi, have you picked, like, a suitor or something like that for you to marry? And she's like, none of the men are good enough for me. Some people take that as like, oh, it's because she's holding out for Luffy and she's into Luffy. Some people take that as like, it's Koza that she's interested in. I don't know. I don't know where that goes. I think it is funny that Oda actually like, I think it's funny that Oda did actually hint at some romance for Vivi, but then it's so unclear as to where he would go with that. All right. Let's get to the thing. All right. let's get to the thing. I'm excited to see this. I'm genuinely excited for the One Piece live action season 2. I did watch the slumber party thing, the sleepover thing, that clip. Have you guys seen the clip? What is this? Why is this tilted like this? There we go. Yeah, the sleepover clip for the Strats. I think I just generally like the way the live action does the crew. It can feel like a little corny or whatever at points, but it's also endearing, I think, in its own way. And I feel like the right tone is struck for a story like One Piece. If this was like a more grounded story, it would be really hard to do. But the fact that One Piece is like almost like a very fairy tale type story, like kind of not too realistic, a little bit mythological, like not mythological, sorry, like fantasy, but also like very light-hearted, cartoonish fantasy, where like quirky type fantasy, I think it kind of works. It's like very self-aware in terms of like the interactions, and like how the characters are kind of like, the characters are characters in a sense, right? They don't feel like super realistically written people. All right, let me load this shit up and share it. Okay, all right, here we go. Trying not to get copyright struck or anything like that. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 so we can start the reaction. Oops, probably got to do that. Here, let me add a thing. Hold on, we're gonna change it. Here we go. Just got to do this shit again. Yeah. I think this is basically... That's basically good. All right. Okay. And desktop audio muted. Okay, I think this works. Let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick. Gunner455, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 24 months. Such a long time. Thanks for the consistently great content for the 2 years, and not the mess slop content that is all over One Piece YouTube and has been. Thanks, man. Thank you for the long time support. Like 2 years is crazy. I really do appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy the content. I'm glad that it still feels like there's a unique niche of content that comes out of this channel that is that separates itself from other One Piece channels. Obviously, there's plenty of things that other One Piece channels do better than my channel does, but I still am happy that there's a certain type of content that people regularly come back to this channel for that that still feels unique and different and good enough quality to you all. So I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate the long time support, man, for real. Let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick because we're almost there. As soon as we hit 100, I will start the reaction. More right side of the screen is frozen. It's not. No, what I just did is so the right side of the screen is it's. I mean, it's frozen in the sense that like. It's frozen in the sense that it's like it froze a while back, like it's not intentionally frozen or anything like that. It's just the way it's gonna have to be because I don't know how to adjust the camera back again. So we just deal with it. Just pretend that this is naturally the way that my arm is supposed to be. All right, just pretend. We're just gonna play pretend. Maybe it helps if I move a little bit more to the right. I don't know. Okay, you guys ready? I'm excited to watch this shit. All right, we're at 100. All right, let's go. All right, here we go. Let me just make sure it's at the right thing. Yep. Again, desktop audio is off. Okay, here we go. Oh, this looks good. No, right off the bat, this looks good. This looks way better than the still image photo. The still image felt very, it felt almost like glossy. I don't know, it felt very... it seemed really... I mean, this still looks artificial, but this looks more natural to me. Oh, that's a very nice touch. What they did with like the ear and like the twitching, the face twitching. It feels like very animalistic. Animalistic. It feels like a very authentic, as authentic as you can get with something like that. It feels like they didn't have to do that, but it tries to make it feel authentically real. It feels like they're trying to emulate like how a hybrid animal human character might act to some degree. I like that touch. It's like a very small touch. It was not needed at all. Um, it just adds a little bit of realism to the concept, I suppose. Wait, whoa! Coming 2026? No, what? I don't. Did the slumber party thing? Did they say it's coming 2026? I don't remember them saying it's 2026. Next year. Are you fucking serious? Next year? That is just wrong. No. I've got a lot of thoughts. But that is the biggest takeaway for me for all this actually. What? When did the first thing come out? One Piece live action release date. Season 1. It's 2020. This is, I don't even understand. Like, that really fucking this is so ridiculous. When is this gonna stop? Like, this is just like the way Netflix and these streaming studios greenlight the next season is just so wrong. Something has just gone fundamentally wrong with the way TV is made at this point. I don't even fucking understand it. How is it 3 years after the first season? How is it 3? This is insane. I think the writer's strike stuff, did that happen right then? So that probably delayed as well. This is just fucking criminal. It's just like, seasons are supposed to come every year. That is what is supposed to happen. I know that they filmed season 2 and 3 together, but then it's just like, if they film season 2 and 3 together, what about the next batch? Like, is it going to be 3 years after season 3 that the next one gets greenlit? House of the Dragon, same thing. Stranger Things, I don't know who the fuck is going to watch that. Like, when are they going to when is this going to, like, has everyone just, how do we make this change? Has everyone just accepted that this is just the way things are? It feels really fucked, because it just feels like there's no care for the actual viewers who get really strongly attached to all of this. Just you don't care as much after some time passes. Recent shows I've also watched, like, I liked Wednesday, I liked Fallout. You can't leave us with so much anticipation for the next thing and then just be like the whole I know I've read some things before explaining why the process takes longer with the way that streaming studios work than it did back when, like, shows were airing more regularly, because back then you could crank out like 20 episode seasons or whatever, and then next year you'd be back with another batch of 20 episodes or something. Like, I don't remember fucking waiting years for the next season of Psych to come out, or the next season of, like, Monk to come out or something like that. Just something is just wrong. Last of Us season 2, yeah, like Squid Game season 3 coming out, like, yeah, so I understand it's something like they need to see how the first season does, and then based on that they will greenlight like, they need to wait for metrics to come out before they start anything on the second season. Once metrics are out, then they greenlight the next season. I just know that there's a longer assembly line process, but this stuff happens even after the first season too, though, right? Like, why Stranger Things? Why was there such a gap between 4 and 5? Like, House of the Dragon was so successful after season 1, so why is there such a gap between season 2 and 3? BB, thanks for the 2. They used to make seasons of Game of Thrones yearly. Fucking exactly. Yeah, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, like fucking great shows. Like Sopranos, from what I've watched, like back-to-back seasons. And like Game of Thrones became bigger and bigger budget as it went on, but they were still able to do it every year. So I feel like budget's not even a thing. And it's not like writing quality is like skyrocketing. Like the best shows I've seen were still, maybe I'm not as up to date on some current shows or whatever, but like a lot of the best shows were still shows that were coming out back then. What other good shows have I seen lately? See, I feel like I've been on a TV show kick lately. I've liked White Lotus. I feel like those seasons have come out pretty regularly, I think. BB, thanks for the 2. You're a Psych and Monk fan? I just binged both. Oh, it's cool to see people who are still getting into Psych and Monk nowadays. I used to watch them back when they would come out. They used to come out, I think, back to back. It was really cool. I think they would come out on, it was like Thursdays or Fridays or something. And it was like the perfect time when it was like, I was in high school, and they would come on same day, back to back, new episodes, and it was just like, sometimes, like, you know, I think once they were on the Friday shift, it was like, well, you can't always watch them, obviously, but days when I was home with my family or something like that, it was really cool. It was something that we all tuned into, and it was just nice, like a nice hour snippet of Psych, and then I think an hour snippet of Monk. Maybe it was reversed. I forget exactly. Did Psych come on first or Monk come on first? Psych, Monk, back-to-back showings. What was that like? That was cool. It was just really cool. It was 2 shows that were detective shows, but were really more about like the characters and like the light sense of comedy that also takes place. Yeah. Or that's also in the shows and everything like that. And it was I really appreciate those memories because it was something that like my parents could watch, and then as I got older, like my parents would watch Monk when I was younger, and I eventually caught Monk like on TV a bit when they were watching it. And like it was like a more adult show. And then eventually I kind of started tuning into it more and more, and then Psych became a thing. And so then I started watching Psych with them, as like we also liked Psych, so we'd watch Psych and Monk back to back. It was just really cool. It was really fun to like a fun way to kind of close out the week. I forget if it was Thursdays or Fridays or something like that. Yeah, it was just nice. Maybe it was I fucking forget if it was Thursdays or Fridays or whatever. It was nice, and it was a nice thing that our whole family enjoyed, and yeah, it got us together to just tune into the same thing. It was cool. Honestly, their killing TV shows and movies are just as bad. Yeah. It's a Jungle out there. Yeah, the Monk theme song. Yeah, it's just fucked. I don't know. I think the way they do seasons is a real fucking tragedy. Sorry, that was my biggest takeaway. There's no, like, because I was thinking that I was prepared for this show coming out in 2025, and I was just thinking the entire time, like One Piece live action, and I was thinking the entire time, I was like, man, I can't believe we have to wait so long for the second season of this to come out. You know, 2025, like, that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, it'll have been a long break, but, you know, it's cool. Like, I'm excited for this coming out again. And then seeing 2026 is just mind-blowing. Because in my mind, it was already, like, it's been so ridiculously long that we had to wait for this. But you know what? That's okay. Like, patience is a virtue or whatever. It's okay. It took a long-ass time, but it's okay at the end of the day, right? No, this is fucking ridiculous that it took this long. Fucking ridiculous. Just because you know that they did shit faster back in the day. You just know that we it's not like you can be fooled because we've got a history of TV shows coming out far more regularly than they do now. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Red's Dead says the live action of this caliber requires so much time for CGI and sets. First the production time, then the filming, and afterwards the post-production. And then how is Game of Thrones able to do it every year? How is Game of Thrones able to do it every year? Because it did. It did. Like, and same for House of the Dragon. How is it that Game of Thrones did it every year, and then House of the Dragon does one season, takes a while, then second season comes out, and then it'll be like fucking 4 to 5 years for season 3. I don't think House of the Dragon has had bigger set pieces by like that level of I don't think their set pieces are 3 times bigger than Game of Thrones or 4 times bigger than Game of Thrones, that it should take 3 to 4 years between a House of the Dragon season, whereas it took 1 year between every Game of Thrones season. I don't think that's the case. Same with One Piece. Like, I don't think it's that much crazier to make than some of the other TV shows that we've seen that would come out regularly year after year, or at most 2 years apart. This is 4 years apart, or 3 years apart. That's kind of insane. All right. Anyway. I just think and you can say that that's if you really want to stretch and say, well, that's the case for One Piece and like House of the Dragon or something, that's fine. But there are other shows that are clearly nowhere near as much like special effects focused or VFX focused or something like that. Like, why the fuck is there such a gap for like the Squid Game from season 1 to season 2, right? Why the fuck was there such a gap for like literally every fucking show, like Wednesday, Stranger Things? Like these shows don't have like you're not having characters like Luffy stretch every episode or whatever, right? You don't have as much like action choreography or whatever happening, like as crazy set pieces. Every show has had these sort of gaps, so the reasoning I don't think applies. Anyway, let's talk about Chopper. So let me start with the pros. Okay, pros. I think the still image that I saw did not do Chopper justice, or maybe I made some negative assumptions based off the still image. I think that's really good. I think what they just debuted there, phenomenal. I think Chopper looks. I think. I see some stuff critiquing live action Chopper. I think this looks really fucking good. I think it looks really good. I never expected, like, if this was a movie or something like that, then you would get better CGI, right? Like, but I was expecting for TV show quality, where they're going to have to show this dude, like, every episode pretty much. This is very good. And they picked some good things to kind of, like, showcase the animation level, because they showed him falling down the stairs. They showcased him doing like a little dance or whatever. I think visually, I literally think it's so, maybe my expectations were so low. Visually, this is good. I think in the context, because the world of One Piece that they've made, live action wise, is already a little zany, a little silly or whatever. Like, you know how fucking stupid the fishmen looked? The fishmen literally just looked like the fishmen looked like ass. Like, I'm just gonna say that, but it didn't matter. I don't think I was sitting there complaining about how the fishmen looked, because the world of the story in general, the way it's being portrayed in live action, it already feels goofy. It feels a little goofy. It feels a little bit kiddish. It feels like a little bit like we're not taking ourselves that seriously, if that makes sense. So, you know, you see the fishman, and it's just like Arlong's clearly just like got prosthetics and like a nose and some makeup and shit, and don't even get me started on some of the side fishmen. Some of the side fishmen look fucking stupid as fuck, okay? So, like, this is like leaps and bounds better than what they did with the fishmen, okay? And we all accepted the fishmen, so I don't think this is that big of a deal, all right? This looks way better than I thought. Just way, way, way better than I thought. It doesn't look perfect or anything like that. It's not like I've seen movies where they have obviously better animated depictions than what we see here with Chopper. But for a TV show, for a character that's going to be like in many, many, many scenes very regularly of a TV show, this genuinely looks fine. This looks fine. This looks, it doesn't look eerie or creepy to me. It honestly looks kind of cute or whatever. I think they pulled that off. But that leads us into the cons. I did not expect the cons to be... I saw some people mentioning voice here and there or whatever. I did not expect the cons to be the actual depiction of the character. I expected it to be all the visual look that I'd be having difficulty getting past. From what little we've seen here, I do not like the direction that they picked for Chopper at all. I really, really don't. It seems like they took, it almost feels like they took like all the worst aspects of modern day Chopper and like amplified the fuck out of that to be, you know what? They're even fucking smart to do that because it'll work on a Western audience. It'll be like, oh my God, the fucking cutesy little cuddly little kid character that's just so like shy and insecure and just so like fucking like it's gonna work, but it's not gonna work for One Piece fans who are already upset with the way Chopper went. Chopper is so much more than just like, he's not just this little like stammering, stuttering like ooh, I'm just like this tiny little bitchly little like 4-year-old child that's so shy and completely anxiety ridden and like almost incapable of like speaking a sentence or something like that's not fucking Chopper. Chopper, he is meant to be an adorable, cute character to some degree, even from the beginning, but he's also meant to be like a character, and he's meant to have some like he has a strong personality to him from the get-go. Like some of his first actions are like him rebuking and punishing Luffy and Sanji, like beating them down for their actions, like right off the bat, right? He has like he has a strong voice, a strong personality. Even like his gag of like, oh, that won't make me happy or whatever, they somehow neutered it to make it almost, it's no longer a gag. Now it's just like a cute little moment to see like this fluffy little baby kid like have this sweet little dance or whatever that he's doing. Like it's not even a gag moment. Like the gag is like the way he says the words of like, oh, that's not gonna make me happy, you jerks. It feels more like the whole sequence isn't like a funny little sequence or whatever. It's genuinely like he's trying to suppress his emotions, and then his emotions come out in like a very soft, like childlike little way or something that's just supposed to make your heart melt or something like that. But it doesn't, because it's fucking saccharine, sweet, sugary garbage. It's like it's the total opposite of how the gag feels in the manga and the anime. I really like. I'm gonna stop myself here because I don't want to say too much about how much I dislike his character right here, because I remember for the first looks, like some of the trailers and scenes of the One Piece live action when it was first coming out, I found that stuff cringe. I remember. And then when I finally got to watch the One Piece live action, I loved it. I did not find it cringe. Maybe I found a moment or two cringe here or there, but I find that, like, you'll see that in probably, like, any movie, TV show, or whatever, right? I found it endearing. I found it self-aware, like, very confidently striking the tone that it wants, funny, enjoyable, lively. I really felt like it wasn't exactly the One Piece world brought to life one-to-one. It was its own thing, but it felt like an alternate universe version of the One Piece story that I love, brought to a different medium very, very well. And I view it as its own thing. So I'm going too far based off of just this teaser. I could end up liking what they do with Chopper a lot in the live action, but they basically took it. It's not fair to say too much off of this, because I was wrong about it before. I made similar negative assumptions based on some of the teaser and promotional material of the One Piece live action before it came out, and then I genuinely enjoyed it. Maybe I'll really enjoy Chopper in the live action when it comes out. This was just supposed to be a debut of his character. So I don't know. That's my thoughts there, but this, if I were to just say what I saw here, I will fucking hate this character or their depiction of this character. And at the same time, I think a lot of Western audiences that know nothing about One Piece like people that really like the cute, cuddly, like sweet, like I think there's a particular demographic that is really gonna like this, and then everybody else will want to blow their brains out. But that's just my first thoughts. Pros, so let's do a compliment sandwich, right? Pros, love the visual depiction. Maybe love is a strong word, but I think the visual depiction is like better than I expected by a good mile. And I think we will get very used to it as the story goes on. I think we're just going to get used to it. I think it'll be something that doesn't feel jarring after a bit. So I like the visual depiction. I don't think it's bad. I like what they did. Okay. So that's one. And I think also the fact that the One Piece world that they're portraying is goofier, a little bit more fantastical, a little bit corny in terms of appearances and stuff at points, like fucking watching Sham and Bucci dress up as cat ninja fighters or whatever. It was so fucking ridiculous, but it somehow works in the context of this One Piece live action, right? Like you're just like, this fucking zany ass silly show, right? I think it'll be fine. Okay? So visually, all of that, I think it'll work. Chopper, they fucking killed so much of what his character feels like initially, the strengths of his character. They turned him into the most cutesy mascot, cuddly plush toy, sweet little baby boy thing possible. They even ruined his gag somehow. I don't like that. But end the compliment sandwich with a pro. I guess this is a pro in that this is just supposed to be a teaser. It's not a full-on depiction of what the whole thing is actually going to be look like, or what the whole thing is going to look like. It's not necessarily setting in stone how scenes will actually play out with him, how his dialogue will be written, all of that. This was just a teaser. They probably didn't put that much effort into thinking this stuff out for him, and they might have placed more emphasis on trying to do a visual showcase than anything else. Didn't like a lot of the teaser and promotional material for the One Piece live action in the first place. Ended up loving the actual show. Very well could be the same thing with Chopper here. Yeah. Chopper voice is just bad. I think, yeah, maybe it's the voice. Voice is a big part of it too that I don't like, the way that they're having him talk. So I don't like the voice. That's true. But I also feel like the voices, they're making it fit in with what the character, the way they're kind of writing the character. So they kind of picked the voice to fit how they wanted the character to be. So I don't think it's just the voice. It's just like, to me, they have a vision for the character that is even more cutesy. And like, forget Drum Kingdom Chopper, who in himself is a very differently drawn, portrayed, written character than he is now, right? Because now we view him as like the mascot, cuddly, cutesy version of Chopper, right? The live action is somehow even further down the spectrum to just like neutering the character entirely. That's what it feels like at the moment. I might be totally wrong. I'd be very happy to be wrong on this. So that's just what it feels like. And they seem to have picked the voice to fit. Because even if you ignore the voice, just look at how they did the gag at the end with him like slowly starting to dance, like do a cute little, adorable little, like timid, tentative dance, which is not what the joke is in the fucking story. Instead, this feels like an actual genuine sort of like moment for him of stepping out of his shell or something like that. And that's not what the fucking gag is in the manga and anime. That's not what makes him endearing. It's like he's got this sort of like they're changing what his personality is to make it even more of a little cute, timid baby boy child, basically, that's trying to find his footing. And that's just going too far down the line in terms of flanderizing the character, in my opinion. Like, if you have Drum Kingdom Chopper in the manga / anime here, and then you got like Chopper of today all the way over here in terms of like the cutesy neutered spectrum, then to me it seems like, might be wrong, but it seems like the live actions version is over here, which is just like, that's not what I thought. At worst it would be here, like more in line with what Chopper is right now, but they went a whole different level. I might be talking about my ass for all of this though. Don't know. I'll say this, my worst the worst opinion I ever had about the One Piece live action, above everything else, my worst opinion was that I thought Iñaki Godoy, in some of the early stuff that we saw and his interviews and stuff early on, and like the teaser, and like some of the ways he even said things in the trailer and stuff like that, I thought Iñaki Godoy would be the worst part of the One Piece live action, and I thought I would genuinely be unable to watch scenes with him because I found him and his actor and his the actor, not just the portrayal, but the actor, the portrayal, like the actor from interviews and like side content and stuff, the portrayal in teaser trailers and stuff like that. I found all of that unbelievably cringe. Okay? I thought he would be the worst part of the One Piece live action. The worst part. I thought he would actually break the whole thing and he'd actually make it a bit of a meme. Iñaki Godoy, in my opinion, is the best part of the One Piece live action. I think the whole thing works because of him. I was so unbelievably wrong about him because he's somebody that like genuinely from like the bottom of his soul seems to like truly embrace how goofy and ridiculous and like silly and in many ways corny the entire world that they've created is. It's almost like he embodies the tone and style of the One Piece live action. And because he so wholeheartedly goes forward with like that sort of enthusiasm and all of that for like it kind of just makes you and like goofiness and silliness that's very sincere and doesn't pull back at all on any of it. It makes you kind of just roll with the goofiness and silliness of the world and doesn't make you expect something that's sort of grounded, realistic, and more seriously imagined, if that makes sense. Like it kind of is, it feels like we're watching some dude that doesn't give a fuck about how he looks and perceives or talks or acts. And so it's kind of like, you know, yeah, this fucking these waiters or butlers are dressed up with silly cat costumes or whatever, and like they cooked up like a soup or dinner that was like all blue sludge. Like it's literally just blue sludge that poisoned everybody, but it's so stupid. But you kind of just embrace it because that's just the vibe, if that makes sense. So if I was that wrong about Iñaki Godoy, I could be just as wrong about Chopper. That's like the lesson that I've learned there. It's important to learn lessons. So, but I can only give my opinions based off of what I saw here on the teaser. And here in the teaser, I just think Chopper is terrible. The good news with Chopper is that he's not as essential to the he's not essential to the story, right? If you just look at the 5 strats that are already in place that they've got in live action format, Chopper is already going to be the least important of them. He may be season 2 is tricky because like it's going to conclude with Drum, so making Chopper's story work and hit and make his character hit is going to be crucial to season 2. But at least not for the first like 6 episodes. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then after that we move past that. Then the following seasons of One Piece, Chopper's not going to be. It's not the most important strat, right? So it's a very big difference in terms of like potential to fuck with enjoyment of the show compared to like Iñaki Godoy if he'd actually been a bad Luffy. I think he's the best. What do you call? Inyaki's the best version of Luffy you could ask for a live action, I think, by far. So, yeah, Iñaki potentially being a make or break, that was a big concern of mine before season 1. That's not the same for Chopper. If Chopper kind of is just bad at the end of the day, I don't think that'll be a big issue for season 2. One thing that was encouraging for me with season 2 was just like, honestly, that little slumber party scene. It's silly and goofy and kind of corny, but I realize I genuinely do enjoy watching that group of 5 or whatever pretend to be like this Stride crew. It does feel like there's a dynamic there. It feels like they're in sync. It feels good. And I realize I want to watch more scenes with that group of 5. How are people feeling about... are people not happy about what I'm saying? Iñaki is like Halliburton in that sense. I don't want to get into... I don't care about NBA now. I hope that the Pacers win. That's all I got to say. But yeah. Oren Hamilton says, hey, I'm not saying you shouldn't give criticism, but I felt like Drum Kingdom Chopper was crazy timid. I don't want to go through everything, but just go read Drum Kingdom again. The way Kingdom Chopper talks and acts, yes, it is a lot of timidity, but there is a lot more fire and spice there. Just go read his first conversation with Nami, for example. It starts off very timid and scared, but it gets to something else. Go read his first interactions with Luffy and Sanji. That was actually part of the fun of the character, which is like a lot of timidity and fear, but then like there is a strong personality in there that bursts out when he's like pissed off or when he's got a point to make. Like it's not just like a little bit of like, I'm the cutest, shyest, little scaredest, little 5-year-old sheltered little toy thing that's ever existed. It's very, very different. I don't want to go through Drum Kingdom again, but it's a short arc. You guys could go back and read it. They got to nail Luffy climbing to the castle. That'll be a really good scene. I'm just generally very excited to see what all they change about season 2 to, like, if we want to do this real quick, right? Let's do this real quick. We've done this before, but I enjoy going through it again. Just as a quick sort of thought rundown, right? Season 2 live OP live action episodes, right? Hold on, let me pull this up. Give me a second here. What was I doing? The hell? Yeah. Okay. Let me share this real quick. Okay. If I were to guess, right? I feel like can you guys tell me, have they cast shit. I gotta put this shit up again. Gotta do this again. Alright, gotta do this across all of the fucking things. Here we go. Did they cast Smoker and Crocodile, right? Have they cast Ace yet? That's a big question of mine. Was Ace cast? I think that should work. Was Ace cast? I know it's only up till what do you call? Darth Lightskin says, Morja, missed you at DreamCon, dog. I never went to DreamCon. I went to DreamCon in the sense that like I went to Houston, but it was to see other people. I never went to the actual convention itself. So I never bought a badge. I never went into the convention or anything like that. I went to DreamCon in the sense that I went to see people who were on the DreamCon trip. Who all was? I know that it only goes till the end of. I know it goes to Drum Kingdom, no Alabasta. I know that, but I kind of assumed that they would show us a bit of Ace and Crocodile, because like I was trying to figure out how they're going to stretch out the season, right? How are they going to stretch out the season? What are they going to be doing to make this like 50 chapters stretch out over or I guess 60 chapters, right? Because they're also doing Logetown. I was trying to figure out how they're going to make the whole thing stretch out. So I assumed that like the same way in season 1, Oda gave us lots of previews of things that are coming down the line. Like he even gave us Baroque Works in season 1. Not Oda. The show, just the showrunners. They gave us like a lot of setup for things that are going to be happening later. Like we had fucking Garp in season 1, right? We had Garp in season 1. We had Baroque Works set up in season 1. A lot of stuff being set up for down the line. So I figured in season 2, if they're elongating the series, then I figured that we would get some cuts to like something Ace might be doing later down the line. Some cuts of like Crocodile. And they have to show Crocodile, because Crocodile, we get a conversation with him in Little Garden with Mr. Prince, right? So you think Ace is going to be the B plot in season 2 and they're going to save him? But that's what I'm saying, which is that it's hard to have Ace as the B plot in season 2 because in season 2 he's already in Alabasta unless they drastically change that. He's already in Alabasta, so it's like season 3. Season 3. Oh, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think you're saying Ace is going to be the B plot in season 2 and they're saving him. Yeah, like, because in season 1 you had three, like, you had the A plot, you had the A plot, which was Straw, it's B plot, which was Kobe, Garp, right? And then kind of a C plot, which was like, we got to see some stuff of like Arlong and the Fishmen beforehand, right? Like, we got to see, like, Arlong was in episode, like, a few episodes. Arlong was in like 4 out of the 8 episodes, I want to say. Like, you had Buggy being captured by the Fishmen, then you had Arlong interrogating Buggy, then you had Arlong showing up at Baratier, then you had Arlong, obviously, throughout Arlong Park episodes. So, like, they kind of had an A, B, and a C plot, right? With this, I guess the B plot would be Smoker Tashigi. Would they want to have, but, like, it's also going to stretch out over more, it's also going to stretch more chapters than season, I guess what I'm saying is, like, look, season 1, they covered 100 episodes, or sorry, like 90 chapters, 95 chapters, essentially, while also adding a very significant B plot in the Garp storyline, right? So it's like, they covered a lot of shit, like 90-something chapters, while also adding in a whole different Garp Kobe subplot, like a full additional storyline that didn't exist in the manga, right? So my question is, with season 2, how are they then stretching out 60 chapters over 8 episodes without also adding, then they need to add a huge amount of additional content, right? Because if season 1 already covered more chapters while adding a gigantic B plot, then season 2, which is now fewer chapters, they would need to add a whole ton of extra content, right? Like a whole extended B plot to really make that click. That's my assumption. So the Smoker Tashigi is one. I guess that's why I assumed that we would also need to be seeing some stuff for Ace beforehand. And you have to have Crocodile cast, right? Because Crocodile is the one that they're going to be, what do you call, talking to in Little Garden. That's just voice work, though, says Henchme976. But then don't you want to cast who the voice actor, who the voice is? Baroque Works will be a subplot. So is it, what does that mean? Is it going to follow Robin? Is it going to follow, like, you can't do too much stuff because then you're heading into season 3, which is Alabasta, and you can't have already covered too much of the Alabasta. Like, you need to save some stuff for season 3 because, like, if you're putting all of Alabasta in season 3, then it's like spending time with, like, setting up Koza, like, what's going on with the royal family, what's going on with the rebels, or sorry, not the rebels, the Baroque Works in the background. That's all stuff that you then, like, now you've got the same issue, which is then how do you stretch out Alabasta over season 3? Crocodile's already been cast? Croc is already cast. Okay. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, Joe Manganiello. Yeah, okay, so Crocodile's cast. So then Ace is the only question mark. I thought that we might have more Ace, but I don't know. Okay, so if we're saying it's going to go through Drum Kingdom and no Alabasta, right? Then, and it's 8 episodes. Episode predictions. I figure something like, I feel like, so we've got, let's just write the arcs first, right? Let's just write the arcs. Logtown, then you got Reverse Mountain, you got Whiskey Peak, you got Little Garden, you got Drum Kingdom, right? Logtown should just be one episode. I think Logtown could be one solid episode because it's really just 6 chapters in the manga as far as I recall, right? And Logtown is a phenomenal way to open the season, right? It's a phenomenal season premiere. It's just so exciting. Like, you find where Gold Roger died, right? So Gold Roger's death and everything. Zoro getting the swords is a phenomenal scene. Zoro getting the swords is a phenomenal scene. You're introduced to Smoker. Like, you have the Buggy Alvida come back, and then, like, which is so everybody likes old villains coming back. You have the Smoker stuff, right? So Smoker's a phenomenal character to debut. Very badass, very exciting for the future. You got the dragon scene, so that's a really exciting moment. It's like, oh shit, who is this guy? We'll find out later down the line. And then you got, obviously, fucking, what do you call? The finale where, like, the Strats, what do you call? Head out to the Grand Line, right? Although they already did the barrel scene in season 1, so it's not quite the same. But you could even throw in the Usopp Daddy Masterson stuff. That could be cool to see, right? So Loguetown, I think, makes sense as one episode, right? I think stretching it out over more than one episode is probably a bit much. I think it's just a really strong exciting content-filled opening of the season, right? Reverse Mountain, I think you don't want to spend more than one episode because there's just no real conflict. There's the adventure aspect of traversing the mountain, which in live action terms will be a really cool set piece. So it's going to be more exciting in Harley. No, it's actually going to be more exciting in live action than it would be in than it was in the anime and manga. Because like some things are just inherently more exciting as set pieces in a live action format than like seeing something happen on a drawing. You know. Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so Reverse Mountain, one episode, I think makes sense. But then, like, after you have that set piece, I don't think the Laboon storyline should take more than one episode, right? There's just no bad guys, no conflict, nothing going on there, right? You're setting up Baroque Works. Whiskey Peak, I personally think Whiskey Peak should be one episode. But I could see them extending it somehow to 2 episodes. Maybe 1.5 episodes? 1.5 episodes? I don't know. Like, maybe it concludes with, like, the Luffy Zoro fight or something, and then the next half episode covers, like, the Mr. 5 duo. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Do you think Suru can provide a counter to Emu? I don't think so. One Piece says, I don't really see how that would happen. Season 1 is 95 chapters, but they also skipped over a large portion of Baratier, and Season 2 is only 7. Oh, Season 2 is only 7 episodes. That makes so much more sense. I didn't realize it's only... I'm behind on information then. Season 2 is 7 episodes. That changes everything. Because I was really struggling to see how they stretch it over that many more episodes. You know what I'm saying? Over 8 episodes. So the chapter ratio should be... So the chapter to episode ratio should be roughly the same. No, but whenever people say that, the big thing that they ignore is that, yeah, they skipped a lot of content from Season 1, but they also added a shit ton of content. They added an entire second parallel storyline with Garp and Kobe. Like, there's a whole second, like, if they had 95, like, I think that's what people are missing here when I'm trying to break it down. Like, I think people look at it too simply, which is, like, they covered 95 episodes, but they cut a lot of content. So then Season 2, they'll be able to, if they do they covered 95 chapters, but they cut a lot of content, right? That's what people are saying for Season 1. What people leave out of that discussion conveniently is like they added so much content to Season 1. They added an entire other protagonist in Kobe. Like, Luffy is the main protagonist, and Kobe was probably the second main protagonist of Season 1. Like, the final fucking episode, the main center point wasn't even necessarily like Luffy fighting Arlong. It was Luffy fighting Garp. Like, Luffy beat Arlong in the first 10 minutes or something of the season finale. Like, then the big showdown at the end of Arlong Park, like, arguably as important as defeating Arlong, was Luffy fighting his grandfather. Like, things were cut, but I would argue that just as much stuff was added. If you really break down how developed the entire Garp Kobe storyline was. Like, if you really go up and add up, like, how many scenes were put into that storyline, like, Kobe had his own whole fucking storyline in Syrup Village. He had his own whole fucking storyline. Like, they fucking went to Baratier, right? So they cut some of the Strahd content from Baratier, but then Garp and Kobe go to Baratier, right? Like, Garp and Kobe, they meet Mihawk and everything. Like, there's so much additional stuff. I think it's like it's oversimplifying it to say that they fit 95 chapters into Season 1. So, but they cut so much stuff from it because, like, they cut but they added, right? So it's still roughly they're fitting in, like, the same amount of content. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, I think it's severely underestimated how much additional content there was. Oh, look. Wait, they've already said exactly how much? Wait, so we're doing this for no reason? They've already announced how many episodes each arc gets. Loketown is 1 episode. Reverse Mountain is 1. Oh, so we already have this much information. Then what am I doing this for? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Little Garden, 2 episodes. The Giants will be cool to have. I guess Little Garden 2 episodes works. Drum Kingdom 2 episodes I think is really good. Because the biggest, I'd always say, like, I think the biggest flaw with season 1 was Nami's backstory was too short. Because it's a very, very strong backstory in the manga and anime. In the live action, they skimped out on it way too hard. It like flew by. They spent the most time out of all the Strahd backstories technically in the live action, but it still was. It needed more than that. I think it needed more than that. I think flip side, I liked how they extended Zoro's backstory. I think Sanji's backstory was comparable to the manga and anime. Manga and anime is still better. Usopp's backstory, it's a wash. Zoro's backstory, maybe a little, they put more effort into it in the live action than the manga anime. But at the same time, it felt like a little, I think that the child acting wasn't that good, so it felt a little sillier. But the Nami backstory, I think was solid in the live action, but I don't think it's going to like make people fucking cry and tear up the way that it does in the manga and anime. So I think Chopper's is the really strong one. And I think that's one that like they really got to nail. I'm really curious how they'll do the Giants. Yeah, I don't know. Cloud Champion says the Garp B-plot is such an interesting decision. The art of adaptation is fascinating. Yeah, I still... it was necessary for what they wanted to do, which was to try and humanize Luffy as a character more. So it's like a class... Like, they couldn't just... What I realized is that like a lot of people who haven't read the One Piece anime manga were cool with the Garp storyline. And for me, and I think a lot of people who read the anime manga thought the Garp storyline was kind of forced. But some people still liked it as well, so it might have been more of a me thing. I just felt the Garp storyline was kind of very basic in terms of just like... It went with a very tried and true cliche that you see in basic Hollywood Western storytelling, which is like the kid wants to do something, but their guardian figure, their parent or whatever, thinks they're not ready for it and they want to hold them back. It's just like the most... It turned that into like, well, this is the way we can really humanize Luffy's character and give him like a relatable sort of just a relatable Disney little storyline or something, right? Whereas Luffy in the anime and manga he's written almost like a larger than life figure. Like he almost never feels like a real actual human. He feels like a concept. And then at moments, like he's forced to face challenges that like are a bit more real and more grounded, like figuring out leadership, figuring out like loss after Ace and things like that. But in general, he's almost meant to be written very, very much as a grandiose figure that doesn't... Like, you never know his internal thoughts. He's not self-reflective in that sense. You never get an inner dialogue or inner monologue or anything for Luffy. Those are all part of the point of the character, right? The live action, I still think kept the spirit of Luffy very, very well. I don't want to say... I love the live action version of Luffy. I think the character conflict that they came up with him for Season 1 was somewhat forced, especially because... I think, you know why I don't like the Garp sub-conflict? Is because they already had a good... I'm not against the idea of them trying to humanize Luffy more, but they already had a really good character conflict for Luffy that played out over the course of the season, which was he did have to learn to actually bring a group together and be a leader over the course of that. That was actually the main struggle that he had in Baratier, when Zoro went down, when Nami was gone. Like, he went through that whole struggle, and he had internal reflections and things like that were fitting when they reached Kokoyashi Village, and he had that conversation with Zoro on the rooftop and everything like that. Like, there was a lot of excellent writing and humanized writing for Luffy over the course of that that felt in line with Luffy, the anime and manga character. Like, you could imagine Oda having written in these sort of conflicts for Luffy over the course of the story arcs that he did, right? You could imagine those slotting in neatly, right? The whole my granddad doesn't believe I'm ready to be a pirate type thing. That's like, it just feels like a very cutesy Disney, like I'm rebelling against my granddad type thing or whatever. That's like a very cutesy Disney type of thing that, or I'm going against my parents' expectations. That's not the core of Luffy's character. It almost never even plays into Luffy's character. He did have like the scene with Shanks in chapter 1 of basically saying like, Luffy, you're not ready for the ocean. But that was meant to be a chapter 1 sort of thing where it's kind of just like, yeah, he's too young. He's not ready to be a pirate yet. By the end of the first chapter, he fucking punches a Sea King out and then is already, right from the get-go, literally the strongest character in East Blue at that point in time. Arguably maybe tied with Zoro at that point in time. It's never been a thing like defying my parents' expectations or whatever to take on the world. That's never been a core part of Luffy's character. Like, it's a thing when he runs into Garp, but even then it's played for comedy and laughs in fucking Water 7 and East Lobby. It also makes Garp more of a, I think it hurts Garp's character too, because it just makes Garp more of a stick up his ass type character than he actually is. Like, Garp is actually just like a really freewheeling, carefree son of a bitch, you know? Jordan Vance says 2026 is going to be the next year of One Piece. I'm calling it now. One Piece WIT Studio remake, One Piece live action season 2, and a new One Piece movie. Is there a new One Piece movie coming out in 2026? Charlie D. Joseph says, it was stupid how Garp was like, I'm just worried about you. I don't care if you're a pirate. You know what's really fucking funny about that? Luffy he beat up everybody else that he needed. Like, he was stronger than everybody else. He beat up, like, fucking Buggy and Kuro and Arla. Like, he was fine. The only people he couldn't handle was Garp himself and fucking Mihawk, who Garp called down on him. Like, it's like... Garp doesn't care if Luffy's ready for the actual challenges or not. It's like, well, can you beat me? It's like, no, but you're not even supposed to fucking be here. You're supposed to be on the fucking New World or some shit. So, I don't know. It would be like if LeBron was trying to tell his son, like, Bronny, that, like, Bronny, I don't think you're ready to play, like, college basketball yet or something like that. I don't think you're ready for it. And to prove it, you need to beat me 1v1. And Bronny's like, Dad, I've already beaten all the best high school teams or something like I'm like the number 1 ranked player in high school. I'm pretty sure I'm ready to go to college now. And then LeBron's like, you're not ready to go to college unless you can beat your old man 1v1. And it's like, dude, you fucking are top 5, top 10 in the NBA. Like, why do I need to be, I'm not supposed to be playing you yet. I don't know. And then Garp's like if you just extend the logic that he was thinking, he's like, well, you know what? Luffy just doesn't know all the dangers that could be out there on the Grand Line or something. And so then he fucking calls in Mihawk, who to take on his son. That'd be like LeBron being like, I know you're not ready for college because I'm calling in Kevin Durant to play you 1v1. And then that'll prove you're not ready for college. It's like, what the fuck? Why do I gotta play Kevin Durant? I'm not going to have to play Kevin Durant in college. Like, the thing... Like, the way that the story was trying to, like, test whether Luffy was ready for the Grand Line was having somebody who's way beyond Grand Line level hunting him down in the fucking East Blue. I don't know. I remember my editor said, like, after the whole Garp Luffy showdown, and Garp was just like, I just needed to see if you were really, like, mentally prepared or whatever the fuck Garp said. Like, Luffy was just like, this was all just a test. And Garp was like, I just needed to see if you had it in you, boy, or whatever the fuck he says in his fucking Scottish accent or whatever. And then I remember my editor was just messaging me, like, his thoughts after the whole thing. He was like, Garp really wasted, like, $1 billion of, like, marine money. And, like, definitely let a bunch of people who actually needed his help, and the Grand Line in the New World just like fucking flounder, so that he could go tell his go talk to his grandson and just check if he was mentally ready for the Grand Line. Like, imagine the fucking police commissioner of a city ignoring all crime in the city just to like go on a crazy manhunt for like weeks to find his own grandson, and just talk to him and be like, hey, I just want to make sure that you're like mentally ready for, I don't know, fucking whatever the fuck you're trying to do yourself. Like it just makes no sense. I wonder how the rest of the Marines under Garp's control felt. Least corrupt Marine. Yeah, Garp's actually the most corrupt Marine. Like, because he's like, I'm just going to, like, we're going to divert all of our forces to finding and talking to my grandson in something that could have been said in a Denden Mushi call. Anyway, I just think it's funny that, like, I feel like the worst piece of writing, to me, from my perspective, in Season 1, was the thing that they added in that's definitively not Oda's writing, that's not in the fucking manga. And it's also just so happens to be something that's a very cliche, stereotypical, basic, like, done 100 times over trope that's common in, like, Western Disney type show type things, right? Like, kid protesting against their parents' expectations of them, and then parent ultimately is just like, I see how much you're committed to your dream, so I let you do it, or whatever. Like, it's just the most basic thing, like, basic narrative arc that you see in those sort of, like inserted Western shows, you know? Joey's Boys, thanks for the 5. Pushing the agenda is our top priority. Thank you, Papa Morge. Wait, what's the agenda? What's the agenda? Yeah, Garp in the manga, funnily enough, actually, like, really believes Luffy can do anything. He's literally just like, it's my grandson, so he'll be okay. He never once fucking worries about Luffy. Daniel with a good point. Arlong Park really did feel like they were trying to play the greatest hits as far as moments go, but not the groundwork of what made those moments work in the first place. Yeah, they did. They included all the key moments, and I think they even added in really good scenes. Like, I liked the scene where Zoro and Luffy are talking on the rooftop. But they did miss, like, more. You needed more time with the backstory, more time with the village characters. A lot of things were necessary. And they kind of changed Luffy's... The other thing that I really didn't like about how they changed... Like, Luffy's telling Arlong, I can't beat you, is just a really bad moment. And it's a really forced Western attempt, I think, to humanize Luffy again. Like, it's just really bizarre. It's just like, they want the character to be some sort of, like, plucky little figure who's, like, not really... Like they want him to make some plucky underdog figure that has to find, like, improvise some way to beat the bad guy or something like that. And it's the same thing you see in so many Hollywood movies featuring these type of like underdog characters or whatever. But that's not what Luffy's supposed to be. He is supposed to be the sort of force of nature that tears through the world and just beats asses. Like, that is the concept. Like, he is trying to become the strongest. It ruins the whole point of the speech that he had in the anime and manga, but they just cut that whole thing out of the live action because, I don't know, it's just they need the character to be sort of like not capable of beating a monster like Arlong on its own. But then they kind of have it both ways, because then Luffy does beat Arlong straight up, pretty much. He does beat him straight up. He beats his ass. So then it's just like, well, then if you're not going to have him win through some sort of tricky, sort of tactical, underdog, lucky, improvisational way, if you are just going to have him beat Arlong straight up, then why not go with the drama of that scene of, like, Luffy breaking down, like, what his true strength and responsibility is to his crew, which is, like, I can beat the people that I need to protect my friends. Fiery Hornet, thanks for the 2. I hope they don't keep doing that, because, like, it neuters so much of, like, I would hate if Luffy's final words to Crocodile weren't like, I will surpass you, like it is in the manga, as Luffy then proceeds to beat the fuck out of Crocodile, but something more along the lines of what he said to Arlong. Or like Luffy's talking about how he can't protect his crew to Lucci or something like that. I don't know. Like it's the total opposite of the concept of the character that's brought up over and over again. I think I'm complaining too much because I genuinely do love the One Piece live action. I really fucking love the One Piece live action. It is. I'll say this straight up. Okay, so how many times have I rewatched it? I rewatched the One Piece live action. So I've watched the One Piece. I watched it once by myself. I watched it once with my family, or my mom mainly. Once with friends. Once with my girlfriend. So 4 times. Not like the full thing from start to finish, but like good chunks of it. Like I watched good chunks of the series again with my mom. I think like the final 5 episodes again with friends. Last several episodes again with my girlfriend. So I really do and I've enjoyed it every single time, genuinely. I really do love the One Piece live action. Like, I actually look forward to rewatching season 1 and watching it in conjunction with season 2. So I don't like. Sometimes I just start pointing out critiques and then I can't help but keep going with it, even though it's something that overall I think that they did a phenomenal job with. I think I got too negative based on how much I didn't like the bit of Chopper, but I do genuinely really look forward to season 2. Like when I'm disappointed that season 2 is not coming out till 2026, I'm genuinely very upset that it's not coming out till 2026. I wish it was coming out earlier. I was looking forward to fucking watching it this summer. It will be really fucking cool to be watching season 2 next year and WIT remake. It is going to be a really, really good time. I'm really, really going to enjoy that. Paul, thanks for the 2. Do you think Kong will face Dragon at Marishwa? I don't think Kong can fight Dragon, but like again, it's kind of like I didn't think much about the Gorosei being able to be that strong, and then they turned out to be really strong. So, yeah, I don't think Kong's got it like that, unless Imu fucking makes Kong like a God's Knight or some shit. Ender Anami saying, you're being critical without being overly negative. There's nothing wrong with pointing out its flaws, Law. Yeah, but I do want to mention the pause. Like, I did really fucking love that series a lot. Like, it did warm my heart watching that series. I felt like a little kid again watching that series. And I was very enthusiastic to I wanted to watch it with other people who are not One Piece fans so that they could get to see, like, a more mass appeal version of a more broadly appealing version of the show that the anime might not hit. Trevi says, I don't view it as an adaptation. I view it as simply inspired by it. As an adaptation, it's horrendous. As inspired by it, it's enjoyable. Yeah. Like, I really do view it as, like, a separate version, but a version that I enjoy a lot for its own ways, like, for its own reasons. I'll say this right now. I'm infinitely more likely to rewatch One Piece live action season 1 than I am to rewatch the anime of One Piece season 1. Infinitely more likely. Like, I am not going to sit down. I cannot imagine myself sitting down again to watch One Piece anime season 1. I can't. Not to say I didn't really like it. Like, that's what got me into the series. The 4Kids version, actually. But I'm never going to fucking sit down to watch that again. I've reread East Blue a good number of times. But I'm not going to fucking watch it with the anime's slow pacing towards the beginning. The what do you call the animation being so simplistic because it's just from a different time, different era. There's just nothing appealing to me about that. But I actually don't even I think the animation being old, it doesn't even feel like a good excuse for One Piece because like Dragon Ball action is much more engaging, and it's fucking older than One Piece. Dragon Ball is much more engaging action-wise than early One Piece. Naruto's fucking old, also weekly. Its action was much more engaging than early One Piece. Toei was just shitty at giving One Piece good animation genuinely for a long, long time. I think literally not till Enies Lobby does One Piece have good fights in the anime. There are fights that I can really enjoy for the drama. Like, I enjoy all of the Alabasta fights a lot for the drama. But, and like, Zoro versus Mr. One is still a powerful fight, for example, and like it's very riveting, but it's not like nothing is well animated, you know. But the One Piece live action, I've enjoyed watching that season many times over. Um, yeah, Joy's voice. I don't know exactly what agenda you're talking about, but yeah. Yeah, One Piece live action did capture the spirit of the series. It captured the spirit of the series really well. I really, really do enjoy it as like just a separate thing. It's not an adaptation. Like the anime is an adaptation of the manga. One Piece live action is it's really being its own thing. Yeah, the music is beautiful. We traded pacing for animation since Torchlight. I think the pacing has improved quite a bit. I think the pacing is probably close to what it was towards the beginning of the story, because again, like now it's only doing one chapter per episode. But at the point that we're at, I think one chapter per episode is fine because chapters do have more content in them than they did at the beginning of One Piece and Ace Blue. Um, so I think the pacing is close to what it was at the start of the series, I imagine. I haven't watched the start of the series again in a bit, but I think it's close to the start of the series again. And then on top of that, just the scene direction is inherently more interesting. So like even if there is a bit more filler, it's usually finding a slow, like a way that's both slow but visually engaging to present something. Like I don't feel moments of like, oh, they're just padding, like they're just padding out a thing and extending time. I can tell that's what's happening in the back of my head, but they're making effort to, like, even if they're going to stretch out a scene, they might present it in an interesting way and provide some interesting lead up shots or establishing shots or something like that, or yeah, or something like that. Yeah. One second. One second. One second. Yeah. I do think the art style came. I agree. The early One Piece anime aligns really closely with Oda's art style at the time, which I think it's fine. It has the charm and heart of the early manga. Yeah, I really love the art style of early One Piece. I think I grew to strongly dislike One Piece's anime. Like One Piece's anime early on does have a really strong sense. Like it's very charming, very idyllic, very simple kid story, almost picture book style. Like it feels really, really um, nostalgic for me going back to that. And I do feel like it captures the essence and feel of the manga very, very well. So I'm curious how the Wit remake is gonna match that. Although from the stills and drawings I've seen, I think it can do it. Um, I really disliked the anime's art style once it hit post time skip. Fishman Island onwards, up till Egghead. Egghead is the first time that I'm back to really, really loving the anime's art style. Wano had really strong animation, but I didn't like the scene to scene just art style, like the color palettes as much, the way characters were drawn as much. I didn't really care for that. Um, it had very strong animation though. Egghead is the first time I'm really vibing with the art style in general a lot. I think Whole Cake. I think Whole Cake and I think Whole Cake's art style was also. I thought it was decent. Like Wano, I didn't think was bad. I just didn't think the art style had that much character. Um, Egghead, I feel like the art style has a lot of character. Yeah, early One Piece has really strong vibes. My friend is trying to go through East Blue. I might tell him to wait for the remixes, Daniel. Yeah, I think I'm very excited to see the Wit remake. Very, very excited to see the Wit remake. I hope that can become like the definitive way to watch One Piece, because I think that's the biggest thing with One Piece, that the one thing that isn't stopping it from blowing up even more is that there's just not a definitive way to watch it, because like most people, especially if they're not already anime fans, are not gonna love the style of it's gonna feel very slow. Season 1, season 2. Like I've actually, because a lot of my friends now that I've made here where I live now. Before I didn't have as many friends that were in anime, but like in the city I've been living in for the past few years, a lot of my friends are big anime fans. So many people that I've met and talked to have the same experience of like watching One Piece to a certain point, and then like, and it's not even like they dislike it, but then they kind of trail off or stop watching or something like that. Like somewhere over the course of pre-time skip. Even my partner right now, she's in Alabasta, and it's crazy because like she's enjoying the storytelling and everything, but there's just so much slow stuff that happens, and like the part where they're trying to get through the whole desert of Alabasta, and like I think the last thing that happened is like Luffy fought Crocodile, and she was really invested and enjoyed that scene, but then right after that it's back to being a sort of slow pace, like clunky animation or whatever. And in the meantime, I'm like suggesting, or she's dabbling in other anime or whatever, and like she just watched Jujutsu Kaisen and she binged the fuck out of it, like that, because very fast paced. Like once you get to season 2 and the Shibuya incident's happening, everything is so like bam, bam, bam. Like every episode fits in so much stuff, so much quality, animation, suspense, scene direction. The plot is it's a rolling ball. Everything's just so fast and exciting, and it's just like trying to even imagine her going from that back to watching One Piece, like early One Piece, and picking up where she left off in Alabasta. To me, it's like showing someone like the modern NBA, well, minus the Thunder, but let's say fucking like Warriors Cavs or some shit, right? Showing someone modern NBA basketball, and then asking them to go back and watch fucking Jerry West play or some shit. Like, okay, this stuff is really cool, but if we go back and watch this stuff, I swear the fundament, like ignore the black and white and ignore the grainy quality, and ignore how slow everybody moves and like the lack of 3-pointers and stuff. But I swear the fundamentals are really, really good if you just appreciate the fundamentals. And like, it's true, but it's also like, it's going from like 100 back to like 15 or 100, you know, like it's just, it's hard. So it's hard even for anime fans, like even people who are big anime fans. It's almost like anime has advanced so much now. Like you watch almost anything. I was watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners, a mesmerizing experience. I still want to finish that show. I was watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners, phenomenal. Solo leveling, so fast, so well animated, such great scene direction, etc. Phenomenal. Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm just reminded like how fucking cool it is binging Jujutsu Kaisen. Like modern anime is so far along that asking someone to go back and like start One Piece, even if they're already an anime fan and are open-minded about it, even if they get a good ways through, there's just so many points that like due to One Piece's slow pacing, lack of really exciting animation for a long time, you can just drop it. Like I know people who got all the way through like One Piece, Water 7, Enies Lobby, and they speak positively about the series, and they're like, I remember this character, this was really cool or whatever, but then they'll say that they like just fell off or switched to another series or something at some point, because that's just what's gonna happen. So I do think One Piece needs, like, if that's the case even for anime fans, then getting non-anime fans to watch from the beginning is so difficult. The manga, I think it's difficult to find. Like, the manga is still slow itself. The Viz translation of the manga is abysmal for the first 500 chapters, so you really need to read it like the colored version or something like that. It's just, there's so many roadblocks. Torchlight says, what about consistency? Doesn't it feel weird to go from a crazy animated episode to one where the animation is miles below? Yeah, I don't know if you're responding to me, but I feel like that was the case with Wano, I felt like. Because, again, like, I can now speak on Wano, because I've gone back and watched all of the Straw Hats fights and all of the highlight stuff from Wano. And even in those really epic episodes, not all of it was phenomenal animation. Some of it would just switch back to the really choppy, slow stuff, or like some really fillery, like flashback to something very long and extended. Like even the fucking Zoro versus King episode, which people gas the fuck out of, that episode, it's really just that final showdown that's like the final several minutes that's like truly mind-blowing amazing. Even a lot of that episode, while that episode overall has more exciting stuff than not, even that episode has a lot of just like standing around, cutting to some fodder lying on the ground and stuff like that, really replaying old flashbacks. It really does slow, like it does have a lot of pausing. I'm watching that episode and I am skipping at points. Like I do find myself like there's a lot of points that I'm skipping to get through that episode to get to the good points. So even at its absolute best, in like Wano with animation and everything, even then those top tier episodes, they still had a lot of slow ass paced shit. And shit that they didn't put that much effort into, or they didn't put as much time or whatever you want to say into animating, right? Egghead, I no longer feel that's the case, at least not regularly. I still feel like Egghead, you can have phenomenal sequences, but then when I'm cutting to other stuff, it still feels like there's effort or time spent on the scene direction that makes it exciting, or makes it visually engaging to some degree. I think Egghead has raised... Wano's peaks in terms of animation were really high, but the floor was the same as the anime has always been since post-time skip, which is garbage, right? Egghead, I think, has raised the floor a lot, which I appreciate and makes watching episode to episode better. A large part of that is that the pacing is a lot tighter now. Jason says, I'm so excited for that new Dandadan season. Yeah, I'm happy that Dandadan is able to like come out at like a reasonable pace, you know? Like, this has not been a long wait between seasons. Really, partly because it's more like a core 1, core 2 sort of thing, but, you know, it is what it is. Torchlight says, so it's more of a case of Wano's bad pacing than an animation thing. I think, maybe not maybe an animation thing is the incorrect way to say it. I think I would need to show examples of what I mean by scene direction from Egghead. I feel like in Egghead, there's a lot of points where I know that they're dragging out the pacing, but they're not just like prolonging a shot for a very long period of time or forcing a flashback. Like, they do force flashbacks or whatever, but like, I think I'll need to show you guys what I mean. Like, if you go back to my reactions when I'm watching some of the recent Egghead episodes, there are things I appreciate where like maybe they're showing something that adds to the atmosphere of a scene or something like that, or they're showing a cool little build up to a shot, or they're showing something like a small I would need to point out examples as I'm watching the episode, but like, let's say they're trying to drag out Saturn's transformation or something like that, right? They're doing things like there's like a teacup. I might be misremembering this, but there's like a teacup that starts shaking or something like that, and that's a shot that they keep going back to. And I think I said that they overdid it in the episode, if I remember, but I did appreciate them having that idea of like, that's like a little way that we can extend this scene, but still show something visually interesting, right? I think they overdid it at the end of the day, but there's a lot of little examples of that throughout Egghead that I appreciate, where they are extending the scenes, but they're not just dragging out something for the sake of dragging. They're not dragging out something or like playing a filler thing or so. I guess they're not doing something that seems like it has no effort or thought behind it. They're doing something that in some way is attempting to enhance the scene, even if it is also a necessary task for them to drag out the length of time, right? So they're trying to do both. That's what it feels like to me watching Egghead episode to episode so far. In Wano, I did not feel like that. The episodes that I've seen and the clips and things that I've seen in between. So I can point it out more the next episode I react to. Especially in the recent episodes that have come back since the break, which are like, what do you call, 1 chapter per episode. Okay. Oh, there was also something fun I wanted to do this stream before we kind of wrap. What was this? Yeah, here's a fun thing. Hold on. Where is this? Here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. 35 pages. Would you guys like to watch? Well, I'm just going to pull it up. All right. So a while back, I promised a viewer of mine sent me a manga that he and his friends, his team, have been working on. It's called Jaded Path. And he asked if I could read it on stream. Or for video or something like that. So I did say that if there's a window, I can just read it on stream. So this is like a fan-made manga. Would you guys like to read that with me? Would you guys be interested in reading that? I'm gonna play it anyways. I don't know why I'm asking you guys, but I'm gonna pull it up. I saw a little bit of the art. It looks cool. It looks cool. So we're gonna read that. Not like I think there's 2 chapters of it, so we're gonna read that a little bit. So this is called Jaded Path. This is called Jaded Path. Here, I can drop you guys the link. I can drop you guys the link that I've got here. So I'm going to say this really quick. I'm going to say this very quick to make this a sort of standard, to make this very clear, okay? I do actually get requests somewhat frequently from people, like viewers, etc., to shout out or promote one thing or another, okay? Generally for those things, what I do is I will just give my straight up price that I normally give for like big time sponsors, right? And then inevitably that price is way too high for somebody to do just for a video or something, right? That's just the reality of it. That's why usually I encourage people to not try and get a promotion through the channel. However, this is a actual manga that somebody put a lot of time into and everything. So this is something that I'm cool with reading on stream because this is something that like, it's cool. Like I want to encourage this sort of thing. And it's something that maybe you guys actually really like and are interested in. Okay. I do not want this to turn into the norm where now 1 million people are going to be messaging or emailing me saying like, Morge, can you read this or that on stream or something like that? So this is going to be the exception to the rule. Okay, this is going to be, what do you call it? This is going to be the exception to the rule. This is going to be, I'm going to read this one. Anything else, I'm reading this one just as a fun, free promotion. Best of luck to hold on. The name of the creator, I don't know the name of the full team, but it's a few people. Best of luck. So this is made by Yu Kurogane, and I can link his stuff in a second. He sent me his Twitter and everything. This is a fun, free promotion thing or whatever. If you want me to promote one of your things from here on, it will be priced on stream. It's not going to be the same as price for videos or whatever, but I do not want this to be the norm. I don't want to turn streams into like reading out fan things or whatever. So don't take this as like, oh boy, this is the opportunity to start sending Morge my own short story or my whatever to read out. I'm doing it for this. Don't want to do it in general. If you really want me to do it, then it will be a price for stream or something like that. It'll be price for stream, probably like 200 something bucks or something like that. Okay, so not as much as for a video, but I don't want to just open the floodgates to this. Okay, so that's the one reason I've been kind of wary of this sort of thing, and a lot of people do ask me to do this. But this is the first person who sent me a full-ass manga to read, so that's why this is the exception, not the norm. Going forward, it will not be free if people really want to do it. In general, I don't want to do it, period. All right, so let's just be very clear here. But let's take a look. All right, Chapter 1. This is Jaded Path. Chapter 1, Man Without a Mission. So, I like the art style here. It's really how I croak. First year, 0-star pathos. Reita Usudachi. Guess you're at the end of the line, yeah? Could you let me be? I just want to get home, man. Hey, are you dense or something? All right, let's got some gonads from when we started this kid. Okay. So this guy lets him free. Nuh-uh. I'll let you go, yeah, but not before you pay the piper. All right, so this guy's extorting. All right, money. Glint, right? I think I got a little I like the art. I don't care about money. Those are some. He wants his shoes. Those are some fresh ass kicks. I want them. Now that I look at it, that shirt ain't bad either. No soda state. This guy sucks. I'll take that too. No. These are the only pair I got, and the shirt's a favorite. Sorry, man. Yeah, I wasn't really asking. I only demand. And when I demand, I get what I want. If not, then, well, we'd have a problem, wouldn't we? This is a cool panel. I like the framing of this. It's kind of like fisheye. Well, have you thought it over? Gotta say, you guys are really twisting my arm here, but okay, I'll give you the goods. Okay, alright, some action. I felt like this was coming. This is a cool way to depict a sweep kick. I like this a lot. Look at this shit. So he's got a close-up of the kick with a lot of visual motion, right? Close-up of the kick, but then also like a wide-angle shot of what's happening, and it's happening in between the panels. I think this is a really cool shot. This is cool. I like the use of close-ups. I like the paneling. Paneling's very dynamic. I like how a lot of things are within panels or outside of panels. Feels like a hard fucking punch. That was cool. I like the action here. Very dramatic panel. This art, I'll say, is already better than Demon Slayer's mangaka's art. A Zero started that. Wait, did I miss something about the star system? Hold on. Man without a mission. First year, 0-star pathos. Okay, so it was mentioned here. Okay. Alright, so there's a system here. Maybe I should have let Xion tag along after all. What did you just say? Wait, hold on. Let me make sure that this is all readable. Yeah, Demon Slayer manga is just a totally different experience. It's genuinely unreadable. Because I tried. Like, I was curious as to what happens after the entertainment district, so I tried to go read it. Unreadable. But I love the Demon Slayer anime. Like, I'm not a Demon Slayer hater. Some people are Demon Slayer haters because they get mad that it's popular or whatever. I'm not. I think it's phenomenal. The anime is phenomenal. Okay, so some ability technique here. Jumps seems a bit like Nen doing something. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Whoa, 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 whoa. This is cool. This is cool action. Clack. Okay, so he's creating some ability. So somebody kind of stopped him. I didn't realize. Okay. Oh, shit. This is cool. Okay, so he did that. Love this paneling. Yeah, visually, this is a very, very dynamic first chapter. I think that's its biggest strength that I'm seeing so far. Visually, really dynamic. His ability is something to do with knives. So I'm getting that the sense that the ability system in this is something energy, like they can all manipulate energy to some degree. Seems a little bit like Nen. Not Nen. Not Nen. Hamon. Hamon. Seems a little bit like Hamon. This is funny. 50%, 4 to 5. Runs, kicks. Oh shit, that's cool. So he electrified or charged up the fire hydrant, and then it goes off as this guy's passing. That's cool. Gets everybody else. And his path. He's not even ranked, but he almost slipped away in his path. Oh shit! This guy just pulled out a shit ton of knives. Let's see. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So this is cool. This is sick. So he's. I like the glint. Tosses knives. Uses ability. To deflect or grab. Something goes around him, cuts him. Shit. What can I say? Dying just didn't sound that fun. But after all that shit you put me and the boys through, it's definite now. Yeah. Didn't do crap. My blood feels so friggin' cold. Why does this type of stuff have to happen to me anyway? Now I'm finished. What a bum deal. Sean was really cool too. I wonder what she's up to. Oh! This is a cool panel. That's a cool panel. There's one more chapter. There's one more chapter. We can go through this chapter as long as it's not too long. Yeah. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. How do I make this big? Oh. That hair and oh no, but they're supposed to be. Aside from the presence erasure, you'd never guess this girl was a trained assassin. Oh shit, she's just swinging around a baseball bat like that. Her name's Shizuka. Damn, when did he stab both? If looks could kill, I'd be a dead man. Let's see here. A repeat offender, Liza Reed. Wanted for a whole lot, and now putting attempted murder at the top of the list. Oh, and not to mention using your path without any clearance. That's no good. If you just obeyed the law, you wouldn't have 7 broken teeth right now. Useless, worthless trash. Stupid bitch. Keep quiet. So how much glint do you think these will sell for? So that's the currency. He's injured. Are you okay? This is exactly why I wanted to come with. Come on, I'm fine. And hey, everything worked out, didn't it? Down now. I told you I'm good. Think long and hard, Ray. Do you really want your face to match your busted hands? Okay. Said, wow, thanks, Sean. You look so cool smashing that guy's face in. You know that flattery crap doesn't work on me. So quit screwing around. The flattery crap was super effective. That's funny. It's the first bit of comedy. Good shot, I guess. Hey, heads up. What? Hey, Ray, you scared? You're that scared of a pair of shoes? Scared? That's real funny. You didn't have to throw them at me. This girl's very strong. I already called the detainment unit on those 2 clowns. Those unauthorized pats, the works, they'll be behind bars for a while. Okay, so they're called pats. Unlike someone, I'm thorough. He's carrying me another way. Okay, playing hero is just not my thing. Should have never threw my soda to help that broad escape those thugs. Good old Rachel luck strikes again. So that's how he got in that situation. The perks of being a pathos. So he heals quick. Still more trouble than it's worth. Guess I'll just chill till she gets back. Yeah, I like a lot of the shots. Even just chilling here. I think that's a good skill to have, that even if he's just lounging in the apartment or something, that even if you just have your character lounging, every shot is a pretty different dynamic shot. Yeah, the art's just phenomenal. This is really good art. Really strong art. Well, now that makes the fourth customer asking for the limited time item. That young man was very lucky indeed. Hello, was wondering. I'll be with you in just a moment. Wow, this is beautiful. Hold on, is this someone's path? You're that broad who I wasted my soda on Lizer for. So this is the same girl that he thought he had to save earlier, but she's actually really powerful. Okay, so here are my thoughts overall. Okay, so I think there's a ton of potential here. I understand that these are like completed chapters. My quick thoughts, if you wanted to, and let me shout out the person who made this as well. And I think it's like he mentioned a team, but this is the person who's been messaging me. So it's Nexus Manga at Yurukag Kurogain. So here I can pin this person's account as well. Here. The art style really reminds me of My Hero Academia. Yeah, and My Hero has great art. So I think the art, and I think not just the art, but the choice of shots and the paneling and the scene direction and the way the action flows, that's all really good. That's all really good. Especially the way the action flows, very creative. I think that's probably the biggest strength I'm seeing right off the bat. This is what my thoughts are on potentially where I think it could be stronger. I think that if you look at pretty much every manga that's like successful, right? You want to capture people with your premise right off the bat in the very first chapter, right? Like you want someone to get to the end of the first chapter and feel like a setup has been completed. I don't feel like that by the end of the first chapter, especially because I think one of the most interesting things that you did is that you implied that he got into the situation in the first place with those thugs because he was saving some girl. And we don't actually see that. And then it's interesting that turns out to be a powerful character later on that's now attacking him, right? Unless I'm misunderstanding that scene. But I think it's important to have established that, like why he got in that situation. Why is he in that situation? That makes the turnaround at the end of it more interesting, all of that, right? Then I think there's too many things that are a little bit not clear. Like, what does it mean to have a path? What kind of is the world? Like, a little bit more context on the world that they live in, right? Like, you just look at, like, a Chainsaw Man Chapter 1, Naruto Chapter 1, Bleach Chapter 1. They all tell a tight story in their first chapter. I feel like this gets a scene and some action rolling that hints at an interesting overall premise, but it's like even by the end of the second chapter, I still don't know what that premise is. The only reason that I'm saying this is just because it's not to say that it's not, it feels close to like a professional manga, and it's definitely artistically and visually and movement wise it definitely feels like that, and I feel like the bones are there of something. I think it needs to get to the hook of it all a lot faster and tighter. I also feel like there's a bit too much dead space, especially in the second chapter leading up to the encounter with the woman at the end. I'd say that's the biggest point, because like you got to remember, when somebody's just starting your story, they have every reason to drop it and try something else. So like everything that's happening in the beginning of your series has to be like a hook. I think that might have been why you started it with an action sequence. I think that's a solid possibility. I think that the way that played out was relatively interesting and kept me reading. I think that if we could get more of an understanding of like the character, the situation, what is the hook of it, I think a little bit earlier on, then that would bolster that action sequence as well. That's my thought. But I do think that that's like, first of all, everybody, I'd say props for putting out a manga that seems like a professional type quality manga and getting it out there and everything like that. So definitely, if you guys want to support and keep checking it out, then go follow on Twitter or go follow on the website Manga Plus Creators. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed that, then definitely keep following, keep watching this, because it sounds like they're going to keep updating and updating. So I think the start definitely has a lot of potential. And it's probably too late to change the start, but like if you incorporate whatever amount of weight you want to put in on the feedback into the following chapters, like that could be really good as well. I don't know. Action looked pretty fluid on this manga. Yeah, I thought it looked really fluid. Oh, Nexus Mangaka is here. Yeah, that's the guy that made this. So yeah, everybody shouts in chat for him. Good stuff getting this stuff out there. And like, imagine this took a lot of effort, planning, writing, getting people to draw, all of that stuff. All right, everybody. All right. I'm going to probably call stream right about here so I can go eat. But yeah, One Piece live action season 2. Chopper looks really good, in my opinion. The characterization doesn't feel promising to me, but I was wrong about that before season 1 for a lot of, like, especially for Luffy. So hopefully I'm wrong again. Main point of disappointment is that it's going to be fucking coming out in 2026. That's just fucking insane to me. But you know, it is what it is. I was really looking forward to it coming out this year at some point, but the lack of updates did become concerning. But yeah, still love the One Piece live action. Still really looking forward to it. Yeah, and then just watch out for tomorrow's video. That's all I got to say. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and definitely check out Nexus Manga's series or his profile or whatever if you want to keep up with more of those chapters. And yeah, with that, I will talk to you all later.